We're going to call this meeting of the City Council Finance Committee to order. And under the provisions of the open meeting law, for those of you in attendance, please be informed that Urban Media Arts will be recording this evening's meeting, so please be aware there will be audio and video recordings of this meeting, and we are live streaming currently. And clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Condon? Here. Councilor O'Malley? Councilor Cologne-Hayes? Here. Councilor Simonelli? Councilor Linehan? Here. Chair McDonald?
Here. Thank you. We have a couple other councilors in attendance. Let me welcome everybody to our Finance Committee meeting. Tonight, the purpose of this meeting is for us as councilors to dig into two financial papers sent down from the mayor in regards to the Roosevelt Park project. I want to say at the outset that this project has been years in development and discussion, and so I want to make sure that we take the time that we need in this meeting and in our council process to make sure that we have a chance to ask questions, dig into details, and so we've asked our staff from the Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development to come prepared to talk about the financial background to these papers and the many questions and choice points involved in this project at this stage. So my intent for the meeting is to first allow them to go through the presentation, allow my colleagues to ask some questions, and we also have a number of letters that were sent in to us, which I will share and acknowledge in this meeting. And we do have a hard stop at 7 p.m. because the full council meets at that point. And so before we dive in, we do have meeting minutes on the agenda, but we didn't actually get drafts of those in time, so we need to table the minutes. Could I have a motion to table the minutes from, what is it, April 11th and 18th? Motion by Councilor Cologne-Hayes, seconded by Councilor Linehan. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Minutes have been tabled. Thank you. Okay. So I think we'll turn it over now to Debbie and Alex, and please introduce yourselves. Oh, and I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Carrie McDonald and Chair of the City Council Finance Committee. So I will turn it over to you to go through this presentation, and then we'll start in on questions and discussion. Thank you. Hold on, I have to turn you on. There you go, your mic is live.
Good evening, members of the City Council's Finance Committee. And yes, we were invited this evening to walk through the two financial paper requests that are in front of you regarding Roosevelt Park. My name's Deborah Burke, and I'm the Director of the Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development.
And my name is Alex Pratt. I'm the Deputy Director of the Office for Housing and Community Development.
And just very quickly before you begin, let me just ask the clerk to read into the record the names of the papers that are on the agenda so that we are clear what we're considering tonight.
Paper 139-23, order that $1.3 million of available general fund free cash is appropriated to fund additional costs associated with the improvements of Roosevelt Park. Paper 140-23, order that $1,200,000 is appropriated to pay costs related to a change in scope of the Roosevelt Park Revitalization Project to excavate additional soils down to a level of 3 feet, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto. And to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow said amount under M.G.L. Chapter 44, Section 7.1, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the city therefore.
Thank you. Please proceed.
So we'll begin the PowerPoint by giving you, a global overview of the project and the budget and why we find ourselves here this evening with these two financial paper requests. In terms of the project budget, the costs for this project have grown over time. There's been several changes in scope along the way, and there have been also unforeseen costs that have been incurred due to regulatory appeals and changes in that scope. As a result, costs, and there's also cost escalation over time. This project was first began in 2018, and we're 5 years later. So if familiar with the market volatility right now, costs have escalated. The funding sources have also grown over time. In addition to receiving some Community Preservation Act funds, we also received permission from this body to apply for a Section 108 loan a couple of years ago, and also a state housing choice grant that helped deal with addressing some of the design work relative to soil remediation. The current funding requests, as indicated by Councilor McDonald, that are in front of the council this evening, is a $1.3 million request to build the project at its current scope in 2023 dollars. Additionally, there's a $1.2 million financial paper in front of you that, if approved, would allow us to go down a total of 3 feet, which we had heard along the way in several of the community meetings that seemed to be something that was desirable by many of the residents and some of the city councilors. The project budget in 2019, when it was first up before you, was $2.608 million. And that was a base plan. This was before, that was kind of based on a conceptual plan, if you will, before we really did investigative work and the design team got into doing true design development. The base plan at that time called for a crumb rubber infill and improvements limited to the field itself, but there were no improvements planned at that time on the perimeter of the field. In September 2020, that estimate grew to $3.562 million, reflecting design changes that were made in that design development period. And what we had heard from some of the community meetings at the time, we made some changes to the plan. So we added basketball shooting areas that were requested by the principal and students at the Salem Wood School, which sits adjacent to this park. We increased the lawn area by shrinking the size of the synthetic turf footprint. We added some curb walls, and a lot of the cost too related to rebuilding the walkways around the perimeter of the park to make them ADA compliant, so that this park, once complete, would be accessible to all users. We also looked, after doing some borings and testing with our licensed site professional, there was a need to consider removal of additional urban fill and importing new material out of the site. And then also there was increased site drainage work added to the design plans, and we changed out the infill mix from organic rubber to Brock fill, which is an engineered wood fiber that was requested by residents, and in fact the CPC appropriation for this project was contingent on that infill mix, as was the city council vote. There was also an increase in soft costs, those are the soft costs for professional services that are related to this plan. And those soft costs rose as a result of environmental concerns at the site and the regulatory agencies that we had to deal with in the permitting. And as a result, you had, that nearly $1 million cost increase, as well as an escalation factor. You want to walk through this?
Sure. So on the screen here, you'll see a deeper dive into the difference between those two cost estimates at those different times. So the first is from March 2019, and the second is from September 2020. We've highlighted 3 sections here to emphasize here. Now, there were increases in almost every category during this time. I'm sorry. Yeah, Councilor Cohen Hayes just made that request. So you're on the same page. Can you hear us better? Excellent. Can people in the audience see these numbers? Sort of, kind of? Okay, we'll put this online as well, so this will be available to everybody. But essentially the variance here, this chart shows the variance between the 2019 number and the 2020 number. The three categories that we wanted to call out to you that rose the most significantly and were driving that cost at that time were the earthwork, subgrade, prep, and field drainage, and that included the change in the project size in terms of the footprint of the project as we took on perimeter work. If we expand a walkway, that also means we need to consider the drainage improvements to that walkway and relating to that part of the project, as well as earthwork obviously includes the soil contamination piece. Site and utility improvements, that's where you'll see a lot of the changes that were requested by the community. Those are the changes that are visualized. That could be the basketball shooting areas, that could be the organic infill mix instead of the crumb rubber. Changes of that nature, as well as utilities, are in that category as well. And then the biggest increase was the soft costs, and we'll talk more about soft costs later, but a lot of those soft costs, there's a distinction between design soft costs and non-design soft costs, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So the new estimate that we are working on is from this past January, January 2023. The project estimate is now $4.84 million. This is due to a number of factors. Obviously, a lot of time has passed in September 2020. There's been a lot of inflation and cost escalation from that time. That includes about $400,000 escalated for the construction costs. That does not include the cost of the historic fill, which went up even more considering how expensive soil contamination work has become, and that's driven kind of above and beyond inflation, so that's why we broke it out here separately. And then the soft costs that were unanticipated in the project budget, beyond standard design and construction management, having to do with addressing legal and regulatory topics, responding to legal and regulatory appeals, exploring design alternatives, and other needs that have come up. And again, we'll get into that in a moment. So again, excuse us, I had hoped this would show up a little more clearly than it does in front of you, but again, we'll put this information online for you. This slide shows the difference between September 2020 costs and January 2023 costs. On the construction side, that's up from about 2.3 to about 3 million. And again, that's just the construction, not including the contingency, not including any of the soft costs. When you include those soft costs increases, which you'll see about in the middle of the screen, you get to our $4.844 million figure. And again, that's the change between the 3.56 number and the 4.84 number is September 2020 to January 2023. There were no significant design changes during this time. This is not a change in scope for the most part. These are changes in the need to the urban fill, so addressing the historic fill is included there, and obviously the cost escalation is there, but this is also largely driven by the increased soft costs driven by those regulatory appeals. So to fund this project today, as is, without any change of scope, would be $4.844 million in 2023 dollars. However, in the spirit of wanting to continue to be open to compromise and collaboration, and knowing that there are a lot of strong opinions on this topic from a number of places in the community, we wanted to consider and put before you a second paper that would address one of the concerns that we heard, which is removing historic fill down to 3 feet instead of the 15 inches that are included in the base bid. So again, the $4.84 million figure includes removing historic fill up to 15 inches or down to 15 inches, and then the second paper, which would be an additional 1.131 figure here, would go down the full 3 feet.
You had asked Councilor McDonald in your invite to give some breakdowns of some of the costs that have been incurred and what invoices have been paid and what's outstanding to date. And these numbers go back to 2018 when this project first started. The professional services have included Haynes Swanson, Inc., who is the lead consultant on this project, the engineering consultant, and various sub-consultants. They include Activitas, which works on the sports field, landscape architect, and also has an on-staff toxicologist that has been called in to consult on different aspects of this field. Nangle Consulting Associates is the licensed site professional of record who has all the dealings and the filings with the Department of Environmental Protection and performs environmental investigatory work and other services on the site. There's also been wetland consulting services that this discussion was front and center in the DEP appeal process, and consultants were engaged to assist with that. There's also a company called UTS that uses those TV cameras to do underground pipe inspections to just, to just see what kind of condition the pipes underneath the field were in. And Foley Hoag, which is an independent Boston law firm that we did reach out to when the latest appeal was an appeal to the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs through their MEPA division. And the appeal sought to stop this project through a fail-safe petition. The city prevailed on that appeal, but the legal bills associated with it were under Foley Hoag. Other legal defenses that the city has done over the course of this project were supported by the city solicitor's office. But this was one time it was in transition in the city solicitor's office that we went outside to outside legal counsel under contract with OSPCD. So what this chart shows is a breakdown of the design costs that deal with, obviously, the design development of the field, and then the non-design costs that have included things like helping to fight appeals, helping to go to an adjudicatory hearing in front of DEP, having to go back in front of DEP when that was appealed again, having to go in front of MEPA and defend that petition, having to run an exhaustive environmental review application process through HUD when their environmental review was appealed, having to go in front of Maura Healy's staff when she was then the Attorney General to defend allegations of environmental injustice. So those are the non-design costs, and they carry across the chart by the consultants on each of those, the law, LSP, the wetlands, et cetera. So to date, $671,976.72 has been expended, and we have an additional $21,445.50 in invoices currently pending for professional services work.
Mind if I add?
Go ahead.
One thing I would add here, for the first portion of this project, the consultants were not delineating and were not carrying separately costs between design and non-design. I believe the non-design costs was something that began being accounted for separately given the extent of those non-design costs in October of 2020. So prior to October 2020, all of those costs that were spent on regulatory appeals and permitting would be considered in the design costs. So just so you're aware, we did start pulling that out, and the consultants did start pulling that out to help track those costs separately. But it does understate the proportion of soft costs that were actually spent on non-design costs. They would actually be somewhat higher, but for accounting purposes, this is the way it's broken down.
Councilor O'Malley, and let me just say, it's fine to ask some clarifying questions, but I'll make sure that every councilor has a chance to go into a couple of more detailed questions. I just want to be able to get through the presentation. Go ahead.
Understood. It's a lengthy presentation, so I want to make sure I don't forget my questions. So is there a reason why so many of the cities and the MRA's prior contractors are now being nestled under Hayner-Swanson? And are we getting an additional upcharge because they are going through another vendor provider?
No, we went through a public procurement process. In fact, we just did it again for civil engineering services. We also did one for Nangle Consulting. We asked Hayner-Swanson as part of this project to be the lead consultant, and they brought in those subs that specialize in those various fields. It happens frequently. Shadley Associates, that is our landscape architect, that we use on a lot of the park improvement jobs. They bring in Nangle as a sub. They, for environmental dealings, with Dever Park or Kierstead Park, they're working with us now on those two. And they also had a TV inspection, I believe, of pipes at Kierstead and Dever. So it's not uncommon, but it's under their umbrella. They don't charge an additional fee because he's brought in 5 subs.
Yeah, that's what I just wanted to make sure, because I think we have relationships with Nangle, so I just wanted to make sure that the fee, negotiated fee that we get with Nangle or any of the other contractors are what we're getting when it's not being passed through in the 20% upcharge. Because it does seem like the soft costs and design costs are significant. Can you also explain why you're designating some appeals as non-design? Because it sounds like they are appealing the design, which would be, in my opinion, a design cost.
So the design costs cover what would typically be expected in a budget to design a park of this nature. So that includes surveying, that includes the literal design and engineering behind it. It includes a grading plan, includes all of that, includes testing, environmental.
Would it include public engagement?
I think it would to an extent, but the level and degree at which, and I don't think it's so much the public engagement meetings that are fully driving this. I think that's probably a part of it. The bigger distinction here is the legal appeals.
I guess it took one more step of understanding my question. When I say public engagement, had there been public engagement early on so that the community would have been behind the project, you likely would not have had the years long of appeals. So I do view this purely as design costs, and it just really goes on us in terms of the process that we rolled out as a city. Because I don't find it helpful to divide these up, to try to blame the community for the cost overruns, especially when it's only $266,000 compared to millions of dollars of cost overrun.
I don't think it was geared towards trying to blame the community. It was trying to show you, what really, we've got into the design and what we have into, intangible things that you don't see. You don't see the time and the hours that were spent in defending those appeals. That was the reason it was segregated like that.
Understood.
Counselor.
Thank you.
The next slide shows the various funding sources that have been obtained for this park. We initially, way back when, did receive a $250,000 grant from the Community Preservation Act for design work. Following that, we did receive a $1,450,000 bond that would be supported by the CPA, and both of those were approved by the City Council. We then applied for a grant from the Adelaide Breed Baird Foundation in Malden, and they allocated a $660,000 grant to be used for the installation and purchase of the synthetic turf field, carpet that will cover this field. We then applied for a Section 108 loan from HUD in the amount of $1.2 million. And through the state's one-stop application process last June, we applied for and received a $250,000 grant, aptly named Housing Choice Grant. So the total sources thus far identified is $3,810,000. Just to repeat what was said in a prior slide, the September 2020 cost estimate for this project is $3.56 million. And in January 2023, the estimate has grown to $4.84 million. And if we remove 3 feet of historic fill, which ends up being an additional 21 inches of historic fill, because we're going down 15 inches under the $4.84 million plan, that will bring the cost up to $5.98 million.
So throughout this project has changed a lot over time. You can see that reflected in the September 2020 design and budget. changes made in response to community feedback. Now, of course, those are not all the changes that were requested by different community members. There are a lot of different community members who care about this project and care about it from different and sometimes opposing goals. We've done our best to find a path forward that has the most ability to build consensus behind it. It has not been easy. We have had a lot of frank conversations in the community, which has been healthy. We also explored a design alternative, including this past January. We were, and around that period, we were looking at a grass alternative, which we had considered in the past, but we're looking at very seriously. And that plan had included, obviously, changing Roosevelt Park from turf to grass, which greatly decreased the number of play hours necessary. We then looked to see if there were other parks we could reconfigure, such as Maplewood Park, to allow for more play time to be made up for that. We did see some benefit to that, but not significant relative to the play hours that we were expecting, the difference between a turf field and a grass field at Roosevelt. But we explored it, and we also checked to see if there was political support for that type of proposal, and there was not. So that is why that plan did not advance. So the two papers in front of you, you have two finance papers in front of you. You have a $1.3 million paper to proceed with the current scope of work. That is, if we're going to build the park as currently designed with the 15 inches of historic fill. It includes the added cost from additional professional services and price escalation, and it would be allocated from free cash. The second paper is a $1.2 million paper that demonstrates our continued commitment to compromise by removing the historic fill down to 3 feet. This would be in addition to the 1.3 million, so essentially the 1.3 gets us to today's cost of building the project as is, and then the 1.2 million would be the addition of going down the additional 3 feet beyond that, beyond the current scope. And that's our presentation. We'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Alex and Debbie. And so we've got, of course, some questions from our counselors. Counselor Cologne Hayes, let me turn on your mic. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. This was actually, I had turned the light on when Councilor O'Malley was speaking, so I had the same exact question, much like Councilor Linehan and I had, we're on the same wavelength. So first question, I have lots more to say, and I want to wait. Are we going to read the public comments and stuff too?
We don't have public comment, but we did have a number of letters that were sent to us, so we'll share those.
Okay, so I'll just quickly add this, and then I'll come back with more. The design phase, I was wondering also about the design development phase and putting in about appeal costs when the appeals were actually regarding no public input. So then we had to have public input. So it was fighting something that wasn't given from the beginning. So the question would be, how would that look and why was it placed there if you moved it? Still the same money and goes to the same line of trying not to put blame on neighborhoods and community for fighting back for where they live.
Honestly, Counselor, I don't look at it putting blame on a neighborhood. As we all know, there's people in support, there's people in favor, there's people against, and I think along the way, the dialogue has been healthy. It got us to look at the design and make substantial tweaks to it over time. Just speaking about the public engagement process, and there's disagreements on that as well. Going back to the 2018, 2019, there were a couple of meetings at the Salemwood School, and those were well in advance before we, finally came back with the design unveil at the Salemwood School to show how we had incorporated basketball hoops and shooting areas, ADA compliant walkways, et cetera. So, the appeal process came after the full design, was there, and it came, about the various elements that I referenced earlier. So.
Okay, thank you. I was at those meetings at the Salemwood School, and from what I recollect, there were design there were like renderings already, the design was already put out there on those meetings. So I think we're talking about going back even further to have input from the community before those designs were even developed. So I just want to be clear. Thank you.
Councilor Linehan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you both for the presentation. I definitely would rather have had it in advance so I could digest it. It's a little hard to read in real time, but it's actually, I think, broken down really logically and simply, so I thank you for keeping it kind of simple so that we can go through this together. I wanted to actually just ask a couple questions on your funding sources slide. You don't have to go back to it necessarily, but some of the things where you broke out the CPA grant, the CPA bond, right, and the Baird grant. In terms of clarity, I'm wondering, I had a couple questions on this page. So for the Baird grant, that is restricted to turf from what I understand, or non-grass, correct?
Yeah, it's strictly for synthetic turf, and I've had several conversations with the person that runs that foundation, and that group is pretty adamant that if it does not become turf, they're going to pull their funding commitment.
Okay, the 660,000. And on the housing choice grant, how does that work? How is, like, I'm pretty familiar with that program, but how do we connect it to this?
So, the government now, state government has a one-stop portal that you can apply for a variety of grants. So at one time along the way, the CPC had actually encouraged me to look into various options for maybe doing additional remediation at the park. And so we applied, we started going through the Brownfields Grants Program, but for some reason, I can't remember, it was an ownership issue or something with the park. We couldn't qualify for that. So they put you into programs that you would qualify. So the state suggested that they put this funding request, into the Housing Choice Grant. Now what that is Malden was designated, and it renews its designation periodically, but was designated a Housing Choice community several years ago, an acknowledgement for the amount of units of housing that had been built in the community over X amount of years. As such, you can apply for grants that are nexus to that housing. So park improvements, because they improve quality of life in a neighborhood, is a nexus to the intent behind community choice.
Interesting, okay. I mean, I know it's only $250,000, but it seems kind of like, it just didn't sound like it matched up that well. And I also am just thinking, is it money, we're not taking money away from potential affordable housing programs. It's just, they're telling us, you can use this, it's not like we're turning it down for other uses.
We didn't have another application at the time, and this is only the second time we've received this grant. The last time was a $250,000 allocation, it might have been a little less, 10,000 less, for the reconstruction of Dartmouth Street and the inclusion of the bike lanes on Dartmouth up to the Y.
Okay, thank you. And then on the CPA bond, could the bond at our judgment be reallocated towards the deeper mitigation or remediation, 3 feet?
That, I can't answer that question. All I know is that the bond went through a public vetting process, at least 2 meetings. I don't know if they were public hearings, I can't remember, in front of the city councils, first the finance committee, then the council. And it was voted out with certain language that, I don't know what your rules are, whether or not you could change that or not, I don't know.
Councilor Linehan, if I may, we received a letter from the CPC. Did that get to everybody? And I wonder about this very topic. And I wonder if this would be a good time to ask the clerk to read that letter from the CPC.
That's partially why I'm asking, although I know it has come up over time in the last few meetings when it's not been on the CPC agenda, but they've sort of raised it as something they'd like to discuss down the line. It feels like now is getting to be down the line, so I think that's a great idea. I did have some other questions, but I will.
We'll come back to you once we read the letter.
I'll yield after, thank you.
Okay.
Dear esteemed Chair McDonald and members of the Malden City Council Finance Committee, we reach out to you today regarding the additional funding sought for the mitigation of contaminated soil at Roosevelt Park. In an effort to allow work on the site to commence as soon as possible, the CPC would like to recommend that the mayor and the city council consider reallocating the CPA fund bond of $1.45 million approved in 2019 toward the mitigation of all contaminated soil at the Roosevelt Park site to the depth of 36 inches and to designate any remaining funds towards site preparation. The CPC has sent multiple requests to the MRA/OSPCD and the City Council to consider a change to the scope of the original project to include mitigation of contaminated soil at the site to a depth acceptable for landscaping. See attached letters from CPC dated March 30th, 2021 and July 30th, 2021. According to letters received by the CPC from the MRA and OSPCD applicant, changes to the approved scope cannot be made unless directed by city officials. See attached emails from the MRA dated March and November 2021. The CPC would like to respectfully request at this time that the Finance Committee consider directing the MRA and OSPCD to depart from the originally approved Roosevelt Park rehab project scope and revise it to include the mitigation of contaminated soil from the entire site to a depth in accordance with Mass DEP guidance for allowing the soil to remain free from permanent cover and acceptable for landscaping and planting, 36 inches. We would also like to call your attention to the bond loan order includes a maximum of that the bond loan order includes a maximum of 4.25% interest rate limit for a 10-year bond. The current estimated rate at approximately 3.5%, but if the interest rate climbs above 4.25, the CPA bond will be null. See attached loan order doc. Considering the project has been stalled over the past 4 years due to multiple issues, if the scope of the project isn't revised to include the mitigation of contaminated soil from the entire site, we respectfully request that the mayor and city council consider rescinding the bond so the CPC can close out the approximate $200,000 earmark we have held on our books for this project since 2019. Please let us know if we can provide any other information to facilitate a change in scope of work to the Roosevelt Park rehab to include the mitigation of the contaminated soil from the entire site to a depth in accordance with Mass DEP guidance for allowing it to remain free of a permanent cover and acceptable for landscaping and planting. Thank you for your consideration of this request. Malden CPC.
So I'm going to go back to Councilor Linehan. Do you have another print copy of the presentation? Councilor Simonelli has joined us. And clerk, can you please make sure that we reflect that Councilor Simonelli as well as Councilor O'Malley are present for this meeting? Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go back to Councilor Linehan.
Thank you so much. So Alex and Debbie, I know you may not have this here right in front of us tonight, and in some ways I think this shows how much there is to still talk about, I think, on just the various numbers here. But on your next slide where you're talking about the commitment to compromise, and I do deeply understand the design refinements that have been made over the years. We're talking here about an alternative design being explored, but we don't have any numbers for what those higher costs are for the grass. And like, just speaking for myself, it's hard to make an apples to apples comparison about what we might be talking about when we don't actually know what those higher costs are. I understand that you can't fully game out a financing plan for a plan that you may not be pursuing. And I see here that it says there's not the necessary political support to advance this. It has had and still does have my support if we could get there. I recognize that we may not be able to get there, but I think for me, I just feel like I need some actual dollars and cents to compare the grass option to know what we're saying no to, particularly since when you look at, the notion of expanding turf at Maplewood, well, that park is falling apart. We still need to replace that, whether or not we're expanding it. So I'm seeing additional costs here that I think we can put numbers to. I'm sure we could put numbers to the reduced play hours, but it's just very unspecific. So I'm not, again, if you don't have this ready tonight, I don't think that's a bad thing or something that would be reasonable for you to have all of that. But I don't feel like I can take a vote to move this out of committee necessarily tonight without being able to dig into, there's like a lot of assumptions in these bullet points that are hard to just get my mind around in more specifics.
One way to answer you is we'd have to work on developing a cost. Over time, consultants have estimated that it would have cost, by going a grass option at Roosevelt. Now keep in mind that was in 2018 and 19, that would have added $400,000 to the project because you'd have to dig down further in order to, plant grass. Whether or not those numbers still hold today and what it will cost to, replace the turf, and depending upon what, is the city in doing that design plan going to change what plays on there, who plays on there, what type of, are you going to program Maplewood a little bit different so that it would have multi-purpose fields on there as opposed to, the baseball field that
Right.
exists today? Because if you do a grass field, you're going to have to rest that more.
Right.
So these players are going to have to go to, other places. So the long-winded answer, I appreciate what you're saying, Counselor. I don't have that number tonight, and we can work on getting that, but we
Yeah.
weren't released to try to start designing something over at Maplewood in a grass option.
No, I do understand that, and I appreciate it. And I mean, even the 2018 estimate, if you safely assume that's doubled or tripled, at least that's a ballpark of what you might be talking about. Yeah, Alex, sorry.
Could I just add, the reason we did not pursue the alternative design further was not because of cost.
Yeah.
It was because of the challenge with the play hours. We just were not able to make those hours up even close compared to the current, and the necessary political support. Those were the driving costs, the driving factors in not pursuing that plan further.
So I think that would be helpful to get actual numbers around, though, because I had a different understanding of where, I understand there's trade-offs. If we're not going to be making up the play hours at one field, and that's not a best-case scenario for the folks that would really like to be at this field all the time, I totally get that, but my understanding was that we do have some leeway at other fields, and that, again, we do have to do Maplewood anyway. Thank you. I mean, my experience is with my kid playing on it. It's really, really in tough shape, and it's probably been 2 years since I had a game there. I don't know if Councilor Cologne Hayes, I know your daughter's a little bit older and maybe has more games there than mine does, but I just feel like we're facing down an opportunity to redo more than one field, solve a lot of different problems, and maybe we're making assumptions about what the surface has to be based on play time that, again, we just don't have numbers for. So I'd love to see some numbers before I would feel comfortable taking a vote on it. I'm not trying to, disadvantage any sports or anything like that. I just think that we have other facilities that I'm not understanding the utilization and the cost to keep those up, and where's the field time? I don't even see Pine Banks on here. That's another option that I feel like has got to be in the mix with the sports that we're talking about. And again, I don't want to derail it on all of this stuff tonight, but that's what I feel like I need to be able to take a vote on this either way.
We did try to look at that when we were pursuing this alternative design, including looking at Pine Banks and other fields. It was a little bit of a science and a little bit of an art on the play hours.
Sure.
We know that you get significantly more hours on a turf field, especially a lit turf field, and Roosevelt is already lit,
Right.
versus a grass field. Those numbers are going to change field to field, year to year. It's going to change based on drainage. It's going to change based on elevation. It's going to change based on the level and intensity of that use.
Yeah.
What we found is that we just were not able to make up those hours. Now, whether that's a 600-hour a year difference between grass and turf at Roosevelt, or a 400 or an 800,
Yeah.
we don't know. We could put a number together, but again, it's a little bit of an art, a little bit of a science. The bigger questions that we were running into there were, what is the quality of field that Malden residents expect? Because if we have more grass fields, that might help us on one hand, but on the other hand, it's going to be either significantly deteriorated, significantly reduced play hours, or both. And those aren't challenges that we can answer, individually. Those are challenges that the whole community and the mayor and the council need to work together to address.
Yeah, understood. Oh, I've been talking a long time, so I'm going to yield to my colleagues, but I have a lot of questions always on this. It's a lot of money and a lot of really passionate feelings on both sides, so I just want to make sure that I'm understanding the full picture before I take a vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Linehan. Councilor O'Malley, and then we'll go to Councilor Simonelli.
Thank you. I appreciate the presentation. And I think probably me and a lot of us are pretty well informed of the project, and having the numbers in front of us is fine. And I honestly feel bad for y'all, because I know that a lot of the project team that is moving this forward and is like the face of this likely are not personally in support of this project, and I know it takes a lot to kind of come up and have to carry that. And so really for me, it's the finances. So without trying to say, I don't want to talk to you, hear this, I would like to hear about the financial decisions. So if it's possible, I'd like to call up Ron Hogan and our city treasurer, who I think are representing the financial team. I really want to understand how the decision was made by the mayor's office to propose the funding of turf through the free cash that would only require 6 votes versus subordinating the decontamination of the soil through a bond that would require a higher level vote. I'd really like to understand the strategy behind that.
So we have 2 other staff from our administration. Are you all able to come up and speak to that? And, just from the chair, it would be helpful to just hear a little more explanation of, like, what are the various funding sources that we could potentially use for either of these papers, and where there are, hard and fast restrictions about that, and why you made the decision, or the mayor's office made the decision to put forward this particular mix.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say that.
I got to ask you to state your name for the record.
Yeah, my name is Ron Hogan. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for the city, and
I'm Dan Grover, the treasurer.
Thank you. Please proceed.
so, I mean, I guess council, like many sort of multi-funding source projects, there's not necessarily a right or a wrong answer as to sort of what comes from where. I think like a lot of things, I think you get the road projects in front of you now where, there's a balance of some of it coming from free cash, some of it coming from a bond. So we certainly, the mayor had a lot of discussion about the right way to go about, these 2 different pieces. But quite frankly, I think at the end of the day, he felt that by including a bond piece, it really was going to encourage this type of dialogue, collaboration, and to try to see if we can get to 8 folks getting their arms around a solution as opposed to it happening, sort of behind the scenes through some other, either jammed into the budget, which I've heard mentioned. I've heard folks mention APA. This approach is deliberately designed to try to have folks, have this discussion and hopefully once and for all find a solution that everybody can move forward with. So that's the reason why there's 2 pieces. I know there's been discussion about the budget. I can tell you, when you see the budget in a few weeks, you'll see that it's going to be a very challenging budget. Multi-million-dollar, needs that need to be funded from other sources, free cash and opera and things like that. So I think that'll be a little bit of a realization about why some of the suggestions about it being, like, can't we just throw $1 million in the budget? But I think at the end of the day, it was the feeling that this dialogue, as painful as it may be along the way, is healthy. And that specifically for a project that's had the history that this has had, I haven't been part of it from the beginning, but the fact that this conversation's happening, I think is a byproduct of that, and that's why it was done that way.
Yeah,
I concur.
and it's co-signed. Yeah, I think that is helpful. Because my concern is that we only move forward with half of this, and so would the team be willing and open to us amending the papers so we flip it, where it's we actually fund the decontamination of the soil with free cash, and the CP fund, which is what the CPC. Which is representative of the entire community wants, and then we come to a compromise on the turf or grass at a later date?
So I'm not clear if so I think if you fund, right, so I think one of the things the mayor was ultimately, conscientious about is not appearing like a paper was sent down that only required 6 votes, where maybe somebody thought those votes were, were already there, right? So, that's oftentimes what happens. Somebody will say, well, wait a minute, you knew when you sent it down, you had. So in a lot of ways, it's a more difficult path, granted, right? But if you were to put the going down further to the lower vote total and then the overall project to the higher vote total, then you wouldn't be moving forward. You might get one piece, but you don't get what you need to have the whole project move forward. And at what point, what does that really serve? So you really need both pieces to happen, and you really got to get 8 folks to get where you're trying to get to in order for it to move forward.
Well, so the reason why I say it is because it's been going on now for 4, approaching 5 years now. And if you take it into consideration the entire time we've been talking about it, it's been decades. So had we come to real consensus decades ago, ideally when we built the Salem Wood, we knew it was contaminated when we built the Salem Wood. The fact that we put a thin skim of topsoil on top of it and let kids like myself and many of the children who are still playing in that field play in that field for as long as we did is, no one feels good about that. I'd like to deal with it now. I think that the top priority right now is remove the dirt. We have a giant hole in the center of our downtown where there used to be the teen center. I'd rather look at a dirt field for a couple years that I know is not laced with contaminants and lead than continue to allow a field that is contaminated with lead and children are playing in it go on for another couple years. So I think you can separate the two projects. I think we can say, we're gonna move forward with the cleanup project, and then we're gonna move forward with the final cap, whether it is grass or turf or clover to honor our Irish heritage in Malden. I don't care what we put down on it, but I do think that cleaning up the soil is the top priority. I was so actually heartened to hear that the mayor and his team put in such hard work to come up with that compromise solution. If this conversation in this room results in a recommendation that we go to that, but that it be grass, I wouldn't want to feel like we're leaving Ward 7 and Councilor Simonelli out in the rain. I would like there to be a financial paper that plans for the returfing or whatever needs to be done at Maplewood Park. I've since discovered, I don't know why our community has this type of history. I've since discovered that Dever Park, they found contamination at Dever Park. And do you know where they found the contamination at Dever Park? In the playground. So I don't know why our community has consistently exposed children to heavy metals and contamination, but it's something that's been going on, and a lot of the people who were involved or were involved in the organizations are still here. We need to stop this. We need to clean it up. Let's clean up Roosevelt Park. I look forward to compromising, but whether it's Dever or Maplewood Park or Roosevelt Park, the contamination should be cleaned up like ASAP.
Yeah, can I just add, I think that's part of the reason why the paper's in front of you, right? So I think what happens over the years is that the regulations change, and what was acceptable 20 years ago, right, thankfully we don't find acceptable today. So some of it's a little bit of a moving target, and some of the reason for now this idea to put out this compromise of going down further is to maybe get ahead of what things might look like in 10 or 15 years when maybe some of us aren't around any longer and somebody makes a decision to go down a different path. So the mayor's proposal, the compromise, is to leave open that future possibility without somebody having to go further down and dig down to the last 15 inches or 21 inches of soil that wasn't touched before, while still moving forward with the proposal that's been on the table. So it is a compromise in that sense, but it is a little bit of a recognition that regulations change. The LSP is designed to current regulations, and again, I wasn't around when the schools were being built, but I got to believe that at the time that was what was required by some professional who knows more about this than I do,
So do you want us to, would a motion help that we request that the team come up with the plan to do the original, the modified compromise?
Councilor O'Malley, I'd like us to hold off on motions right now because I think we're still going through the discussion.
Understood.
But we can return to that at a later date.
You can entertain it after.
Yeah, no, I'm wondering what is needed.
I hear where you're coming from.
Okay.
I do, and I'm not ignoring that. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
But again, I could make any motion I wanted to.
You could, but why?
You
And
are,
I'm not sa-
yes,
and I'm
you
not-
are.
And I'm not
you are-
saying that I'm not going to, I do, but if I could finish. I would love to make a motion, and I think I will defer to my colleagues to not make that motion tonight, that we come up with that alternate plan where we keep grass at Roosevelt, we decontaminate it down to 3 feet, and we returf or whatever needs to be done at Maplewood Park. If we need to add more money to decontaminate Dever, we might as well do that now too. And if we are aware, if the project team, Nangle, he's been around for a long time, if we're aware of any other playgrounds with lead in them, let's get it out in the open now and let's just take care of it. It's only getting more expensive the longer we wait. Thank you.
So I think, and Chairman, I think that Debbie and Alex walked away with the understanding that the body desires to have more information, as Council Linney had mentioned about the alternative, and I think that's essentially what your motion is, right, is to sort of hear more about that, to figure out whether or not folks feel like that was an opportunity lost or more information has folks realized. So it feels to me like that's already going to happen, right? Debbie's shaking her head saying she'll have it by tomorrow, so you should be good.
Yeah, thank you for that. So we'll come back to that motion in this meeting. I appreciate that, Councilor O'Malley. And I just wanted to clarify 2 things. One is that, so if I understand you both correctly, and reading the memo from the mayor, when he sent down these papers, there is continued openness to finding a path forward that can get support from the council, which could include an alternative like this potentially. But is it true that the mayor remains open to an alternative that can get support of the council to move this project forward?
Yeah, I think the fact that we're here today tells you that he is. As I said before, in a lot of ways, the path that he sent down was not the easiest path, right? There were ways that this could have been done outside of the, sort of the open transparency of this process and without this public debate. And the fact that it didn't should answer the question, but the answer is yes. I think this is dialogue that he's committed to seeing happen, and let's see what comes out of it. Obviously, he's in support of the proposal that's been sent down, right? I mean, there should be no doubt about that, but at the same time, dialogue and collaboration yields results, right? So let's see where it goes,
Thank you. And then to this point about Dever Park, I don't know if OSPCD has any particular information about that. And Councilor Condon, you have a point of information. Hold on, let me turn on your mic. Go ahead.
Yeah, since Councilor O'Malley brought it up.
You're on. Hold on, I'll turn you back on again. Okay, go ahead.
Since Councilor O'Malley brought it up twice, Debbie Burke's department, we found ash, and it was located in the tot lots and the basketball area. So we have determined that we should be able to handle removing this ash from within the budget because of the way it was budgeted. So I don't want to cause a panic throughout Ward 2 because they'll be picking in my house. But we have already begun to remove that ash, and we expect, hopefully there's no other situations, but we've already begun the process to remove it, and it'll be completely removed.
Thank you, Councilor. Alex, did you want to add to that?
Yes, thank you. So regarding Dever Park, as the councilor said, we uncovered this during construction. It has been totally closed off during construction, so no one has been at risk since we discovered it. And again, to Ron's point, the benchmarks have changed. So we are still doing some investigation about why and when it was put there, but our best guess is it was put there in the 1940s and 1950s when dumping was very different, building was very different. Most houses and buildings built before 1978, which is the vast majority of homes in Malden, have lead in them. So if you have any property where there used to be residences or buildings of any kind on them, you might run into lead when you dig down into the soil. We don't always know. We have had a lot of discussions lately about how do we get ahead of that, knowing that we don't know at the beginning of the project. And that's something we're continuing to explore. It's a challenge because you can't dig up the whole park and say, okay, well, we don't know where we're going to dig, so we're going to dig up the whole thing and see if we find any contaminated soil. That doesn't make any sense. But it makes sense to say, okay, we know we're going to be designing a park that looks like this, right? So we know there's going to be a playground here and a swing set there and a soccer field there. Then you can say, okay, well, if the playground is there, then we need to dig accordingly, and we check for ledge, we check for contamination, we can do test pits then. But it's an iterative process. We don't know what we don't know, frankly, and so we're trying to figure out what the best way to do that is in a way that both manages costs, promotes safety, and make sure that the parks projects are completed as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Alex. I'm going to go to Councilor Simonelli.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I don't know who to call up behind this podium up here. I don't know if I could fit you all up behind this thing or not, but maybe somebody can answer me this question. I gotta say that a lot of you guys know me and have known me for a long time. And one thing that I value friendship on is loyalty and most of all, trust. So I'm confused. I really don't know what's going on up here. I don't even know why we're here with this right now. Because this was already an issue that Councilor Spatafora, who I'm texting back and forth with, and I had an issue with. And we met with the mayor, and we were left with the impression that, strong impression, that it was going to, Roosevelt was going to stay the way the original plan was, except maybe they would get rid of the dirt, the contaminated dirt there, go down deep enough to get rid of the contaminated dirt. If my memory serves me correctly, I'm pretty good at this. And then, so that's how we left it. And now, and I apologize for coming in late tonight, and you know, maybe I'm gonna misspeak here, and maybe one of my colleagues can fill me in on it. Maybe I missed something.
So, Councilor Simonelli, just briefly to say, and you all feel free to correct me, this presentation has been about the mayor's papers that would continue the turf plan. One brings us up to the current cost estimate for that existing plan. The other one is a bond to remove the soil down to 3 feet. And in the course of conversation, this...
Turf it or grass it, 3 feet, turf it or grass it?
So the papers that the mayor sent imply that that would be turf on top of 3 feet of soil removal.
Okay, so that's what
And then in the course of this meeting and conversation, as the mayor acknowledged in his memo to us that he'd looked at other options. It sounds like you and Councilor Spadafora had met with him. That might be the piece of not having political support to advance. So I think we are asking more information based on that piece that has come out. We've been asking for more information on what that meant. So that's where we are in the conversation, in addition to the other questions we've been asking about the funding and financing and costs and budget of this plan. Councilor Simonelli, do you still have the
No, yes.
you still have the floor?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I
go
want to
ahead.
say thank you, Mr. Chairman, for clarifying that for me. You did a fantastic job in doing so. So we're waiting on numbers for the turf part of it, or the digging down deeper on the dirt and to turf that. Is that what we're waiting on numbers for, or both?
So if you look in the, previously in the presentation, we went over the numbers for, let me see, what's a good slide that captures all of this? We looked at the numbers of how the project has changed over time. We've looked at the numbers for bring up to the current cost, so it would be $4.84 million to build it today without going down the additional, without going down 3 feet, only going down 15 inches. We broke down what that looks like, and then we have, here we have under funding sources, you'll see at the bottom, I'm sorry, let me go one more slide. Funding requests, here we are, I'm sorry. So we have 2 finance papers in front of you. The slide explains what those finance papers are. One would address the cost of doing this project today without going down the 3 feet, and then the second paper demonstrates that we have priced it out and are willing to do that.
So 1.2 million to go down 3 feet,
In addition to the 1.3.
in addition to the 1.3.
The 1.3 gets us to baseline.
Yeah.
And then the 1.2 is additional.
All right. Okay.
Do you have more?
And it's still, yeah, thanks. I appreciate your patience, Mr. Chairman. Yes. And do you have a price to actually put grass there then, too, at the end? I mean, if
That's
we're
the
gonna...
question that Councilor Linehan.
all right. Because I was going to say, if we're going to go this far, then we might as well look at putting grass there because, you know, and again, it just comes to my original issue here, is that, you know, when I first came aboard, this thing was well on its way. And, you know, anybody that knows me that I'm a straight shooting guy and honest. May not like me, may not like what I have to say sometimes, but I got to stay straight and true, man. And, you know, I was told that, you know, we were going to put turf because turf was what was needed at that park because of the contamination, because of the overall costs and everything else. And I also truly believe that you do need some turf fields because soccer is becoming a huge sport in the city of Malden and the surrounding communities, and some of the other sports that require turf fields because of the simple fact, you know, they can't play on grass because we've tried that already, and it turns into like a mud ball if it's sprinkled and a dust ball if it's not. So those are the right places for it. But coming in, I was told that, you know, we've got to kind of go in this direction because, you know, of the funding, it was the biggest issue. But if it's not anymore. Or if it was never, I don't know why we just didn't do it right from the beginning. We could have saved this aggravation and turmoil. Because, you know, when I give somebody my word and I say to you, okay, listen, I'm with you. You know, I'm going to stand by it. If what you're telling me is true, that, you know, we can only put turf in here for these reasons, financial, you know, need more turf fields for the sports arenas that we have right now, or the sports games that we have, because, you know, that's what I was told. And in the final hour, to just kind of like say, hey, yeah, okay, we can do it now and we can switch it, which we don't know because you didn't come back, you didn't come with the additional cost of what that's all going to be, which I know that's what you're working on. But I would say, can you come in with some grass figures at this point now? Because if you're going to go down and get all the contamination out of there, let's do it right and let's put grass back there. And then the other thing, let me just finish this one. Maplewood Park, my colleague to the left, Councilor Lenahan, is absolutely correct, because I have had meetings on top of meetings about this for the last 6 months, and we already know that Maplewood is contaminated and it's exhausted its lifespan, and therefore has to be corrected and has to be we're roping it off, because what I was told, that people can get injured very quickly and get concussions. I don't know if you were told the same thing. So it would be incumbent upon us to actually do that field over. And yes, I agree with all of you, because being the original city councilor here and living in that neighborhood my entire life, and working with the Malden Development Authority back then when we took it from Gill Winers and made it into a field, was seriously contaminated, because we tried the grass and it didn't work out. So I'm going to go even further than that. If we're going to be so jolly and go after all kinds of other money for fundings on all these parks and do all these things right and get rid of the contamination, then hey, hell, why don't we go after the whole bottle of wax and get the money to clean up my park at Maplewood for all the years that it's been, and take care of that injustice that's sitting there. Why don't we take a look at that and work together? I'm not spanking no one up here tonight, right now. You guys have all done a great job. It's a lot of work you did. I've worked with every one of you who's on this project. But I'm telling you right now, you got to feel my aggravation when I have talked to numerous of you folks out there, and you told me this is the way to go.
So, Councilor Simonelli,
Yeah.
I just want to note the time, because we have a hard stop.
You know what? Yes, I agree with you, but listen, this is a hot topic, and this is something that needs to be talked about, because what I'm saying is, in my professional my professional being here as a city councilor up here, I was told things that led me in directions of doing certain things. And now I'm being told that, that may not be the case. And that's great, man. If you found a treasure chest of money somewhere and we can fix some stuff, I'm on.
Well, just from the chair very briefly, and I see Councilor Cologne Hayes also has her light on. And Alex, I know you want to respond, and we have 5 minutes left in this hearing. So it seems clear that we're going to need to ask you to come back, and we'll have a motion from Councilor O'Malley. I had some questions myself, but I don't think I don't know.
Sorry.
That's okay. Because I think we're going to have to come back and talk some more about this. So, Alex, do you want to respond?
I'll be brief.
Sure.
Yeah, not to repeat Chair McDonald or the discussion earlier in the evening, but the papers in front of you that have been sent down from the mayor's office reflect your understanding of your conversations with what you've said tonight. So there's nothing new or different. The conversations around getting numbers on grass pricing and learning more about that have been discussed by your colleagues and have been a product of our conversation tonight, which is, again, a healthy, good conversation. In terms of Maplewood, yeah, one of the reasons we were looking at Maplewood is because we agree we need to work on that park as well. So I'm not sure what the distinction is.
Well, I just think that, if we're going to start looking to get these extra barrels of money, we mentioned about ARPA money, we mentioned about other kinds of money like that, I just say, if we're gonna do it, might as well just do it all the way right, I guess, then, if that's the case. Because when I was first elected, there was one option. That's all there was on the board. And I stuck by that. And then now, all of a sudden, you know, in the final hour a little bit here, being told that, you know, there's another option that they can put grass there. So then my thing is like, geez, could have saved me some aggravation and just put grass there from the beginning anyway. That's really what it's coming down to. It's not about budget. Look, you guys do great work. I'm sure you're gonna be able to get the money and put it away. But
I hate to have to cut
I
you
know, I'm
off,
sorry,
Councilor
but I'm
Simonelli.
sorry.
I appreciate your passion, and I wanted to also just acknowledge very quickly, you know, we did have a number of folks who sent us in letters, and so there isn't really public comment in this committee meeting, but I just wanted to acknowledge that we did receive letters from Brian DeLacy, Laura Thompson, Carrie Percival, John Saya. We received an open letter from Friends of Roosevelt Park as well, and a number of those letters encouraged us to vote against these finance papers or delay the vote in this. So I just want to acknowledge that the folks that sent that in, and we're running out of time about that. But I just want to say, from my perspective as the chair, I agree with Councilor Linehan that it is important to have data in front of us about what the trade-offs are. And so I would be interested in seeing some rough cost estimates. You might say you could give us a ballpark figure. It's okay. And as well as the trade-offs in playing time that we would be looking at in this option that you described. And I think that those feel like the two key factors here involved. And so, Councilor Colon-Hayes, do you want to speak before Councilor O'Malley makes a motion? Go ahead. Hold on, let me turn on your mic.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I've been waiting patiently, so I appreciate that. I know we're running out of time. So I am not ready to vote on this. I'm glad that Councilor O'Malley was already ready to make a motion. We need lots of information. We were given this presentation, which was great. Thank you. I really appreciate that. But it's going to take a little bit of time to review everything. I want to make sure that we're being fiscally responsible and that we look into all options. So I appreciate that you're going to come back with some. I'd like to look at the CPC funds. I think that was a great option and a great idea that has been, I want to say maybe over a year, maybe more, that has been asked. I want to see invoices for a lot of the work that's been done. And the ARPA funding, that was a big question that I had met, and I think we were supposed to have a meeting. Deb, we were like going back and forth with emails. In about March last month, we were going back and forth. I did want to meet and talk about ARPA money and funding and how that could go to Roosevelt Park. So I would love to still do that, or just wait for this to come along here. And as far as play hours, we need data. There's no doubt about it. I've been talking about this since I've been on the council. And we need to see and make real decisions on how important this is with real data. So I appreciate the fact, I know it's going to be a tremendous amount of work, but I won't be able to vote on any of this until I see that. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Colon-Hayes. Councilor O'Malley.
Yeah, I was just trying to think about what my motion would be. I do think that getting the soft costs under control is probably important. So while I appreciate seeing Mr. O'Neill in the audience tonight, I think that probably his services are best used in his office doing engineering work rather than maybe attending the next meeting or any meetings before this body. I would have no questions for the consultant. I think that the real thing for me would be to get the quote, a possible and reliable and legitimate quote for grass, probably an independent one, not necessarily from the existing consultant, but from another consultant so we can compare it. Because I'm just thinking about where the level of trust is right now. And it's very clear that there's a lot of internal folks that want this project to happen in the turf form, but that there are a lot of us up here and community members that would like to see the best of both worlds, a cleaned up, maybe turf, Maplewood Park. It sounds like Dever is good to go, and the best possible cleaned up grass field at Roosevelt. But really getting the numbers from a trusted source is going to be crucial there. So that would be my motion. My motion would be like to get a quote for the grass and to table these papers until we are able to receive that and review it.
I'll second.
So the motion was to get a quote for this alternative grass option. Is that not including, that's not including Maplewood? That has the design, has it? So, okay, that's separate from Maplewood, but, okay. So let me just pause for a second. We're over time, and so we need to end this meeting. So I'm hearing the request the motion to come back with the estimate on that alternative. Do you understand what we're asking for, and is that possible?
Yeah, can I just have clarification on one thing?
Please.
The trustworthiness thing really is kind of, I don't appreciate that comment on behalf of the consultant. You know, he's a professional, was procured properly under Mass General laws. So if I understand you correctly, Councilor O'Malley, do I now take his design, go shop it and try to procure another consultant to give me a price for grass when I think you could get a price from grass from him?
I would like to explain.
I mean, that's going to take time, so.
We adjourn, not the chair. We're not adjourned. Just to clarify, the chair does not adjourn a meeting, the committee adjourns a meeting. So this meeting will go until we're done. To respond, I would like you to get 3 quotes from reputable engineers or landscape architects that will give you a price per square foot for grass on a field in the condition that we're talking about. You could
Could I
also
just ask you, do you want to know anything about the underlayment and the drainage in those structures? Because that will have to
it would be really helpful to understand the differences between drainage required for a turf field compared to drainage required for a grass field, if there are differences.
There are.
So that would be great to understand, but again, trust. And you may have a relationship of trust with the consultant. Myself, many of my colleagues, and many people in this community do not. And that's a fact. You might not be happy with it, but it is a fact.
It's not whether or not I'm happy with it, it's a question of time.
So-
You know, I'll do my best. I can't tell you when we'll get the quote.
Thank you.
Can I speak?
Okay.
We are running over time, and I just wonder if we want to table this entire discussion and be able to pick it up next week, and then we can go through this in detail. I'm a little uncomfortable with the level of detail that if this was a request for just more information, I think that's fine, but the level of specificity involved in this feels like we should just...
I did provide you before this meeting.
I did not receive that.
We had a conversation. I wanted this before the meeting. We did talk about this.
Okay. Counselor Linehan? Go ahead.
Motion to table. We do have another meeting that needs to start. I don't want to stifle what Councilor O'Malley is trying to propose. I don't necessarily agree because I think it may slow things down. I was also part of the procurement that brought the current consultant on. I can speak to the legality of it, but I also understand that if we want to have more quotes, it is going to extend the time. So we need to discuss that a little bit more.
Okay.
We have youth waiting out in the lobby who are ready to present that have been put off for weeks and weeks. So my motion is to table.
So motion to table these items, seconded by Counselor Simonelli, and the clerk needs to call the roll, or is this? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, we have a motion to adjourn from Counselor Simonelli. Do I have a second? Seconded by Counselor Linehan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The Finance Committee stands in adjournment. It's my intention to reconvene as soon as possible to continue this conversation.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a few more minutes before we start. We're just waiting for our city clerk to come back. She had to go up to the office to get some papers, but we'll be starting shortly. So thank you for your patience. So how was school vacation last week? Yeah. Oh, the parents are saying, so glad it's over. Are the kids thinking so glad it's over? Are students thinking so glad it's over? You need 2 weeks, okay. just a little difference, so. So it's a busy night here at City Hall. We have the liquor license board is meeting in the other room. So when you were standing in the corridor, if you had seen a lot of people out there, they're in trying to either renew or get a liquor license for their business. So that's always an interesting evening. So how many seniors do we have out there? I see a couple. Oh, we got some really old seniors back there. How many juniors? Sophomores? Oh, freshmen? Okay, so some of you just don't belong to a grade. We missed a few hands there somewhere along the line. Well, welcome. All rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'd all remain standing, please, for a moment of silence for our servicemen and women and those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you. The clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Councilor Condon. Councilor Crowe. Councilor Linehan. Councilor McDonald. Councilor O'Malley. Councilor Seega. Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Spatafora. Councilor Winslow. Council President Murphy.
Here. For those in attendance under the open meeting law, please be advised that UMA Urban Media Arts will be recording this evening, both video and audio. If there's anyone else recording in the audience, please let me know. Okay, you are recording? Oh, that's fine. You can write, notes is fine. Taking notes is fine. It's actually video and audio recording is what, but thank you for checking. I appreciate that. So just be aware, okay? First order of business, please.
Members of the Malden High School Civics Club will appear before the City Council to provide an update on paper 138-22, Malden Youth Council.
Okay. I would ask that who's ever speaking, please speak into the microphone. You may move it down if it's too, if up here is too high for you. It is adjustable. And please give your name and address.
Turn it on.
Oh, and I will turn it on. That would be helpful. And just please give your name and address clearly. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jessica Lee. My address is 60 Plainfield Avenue.
Good afternoon. My name is Arya Shah. I'm from 45 Loomis Street, apartment 104.
Good evening. My name is Nicholas Dugan, and my address is 664 Main Street, Malden, Mass.
Hello, my name is Ethan Wong. I am at 12 Upham Street.
We're representing the Malden Youth Civics Council. Thank you so much for letting us come here and present our opinions on establishing a youth board in Malden.
Okay, so when it comes to this meeting on the Youth Council, we're going to be covering 4 major things today. And as you can see up on the screen, the first thing that we're going to be covering is basically the benefits of this youth board. So basically the other programs, how this covers and the things that the other programs don't really cover when it comes to the youth, and what this youth board will the benefits it has. The second thing we hope to cover is like the existing groups in Malden when it comes to the youth, and how they actually don't really represent what we think the Youth Council will represent. And for the third one, when it comes to like the solution, we hope to kind of educate you on what the youth board will consist of. And we know this got presented to you before, so we're gonna talk to you about also like the updates and just like the overall youth board and what it is. And for the final thing we hope to cover this evening is gonna be the underrepresentation of the youth in Malden. And for this, we're gonna basically just talk about how this program basically hopes to represent the youth more in Malden and, bridge the gap between you guys and the youth. And so with that, we'll begin to present you about the youth board, which is going to be a committee based on the youth. And so we'll jump into the next part.
Sorry. Now, there are multiple benefits for having a youth board in Malden. First of all, it will assist the city in addressing the needs of the youth. By having direct representatives of the youth community, the city will be able to address issues that would never have come up otherwise. Also, it helps get the youth involved in multiple aspects of the city government. Having a youth board in Malden would entail having a liaison system in which each member is appointed to one committee or group in Malden, and they will learn about what that aspect of the government does for the constituents of Malden. This is very important in understanding what Malden does and how it serves. Also, it helps Malden youth understand the role of elected officials, which is very important to get a full understanding of how a difference can be made in the community. Next, it fosters a sense of empathy. Now, by being closer to the government, they'll have a better understanding of why it is so important to serve the many constituents of Malden and the different ways that they can do so. Next, it creates a stronger future for Malden. Now, this is the next generation, and it is important to get them comfortable with taking action and voicing their opinions as soon as possible to create a better future. Lastly, it instills positive feelings within the youth. The very idea that their ideas are being represented in government and that their voice matters is a very empowering feeling.
One of the groups we would like to bring to the table today is our own group at Malden High, known as the Malden Youth Civics Council. The Malden Youth Civics Council aims to address social issues within the community, along with tries to engage the youth in the government. While we can engage the youth at the Malden High School, that's our issue. It only represents students at Malden High, and we can't reach out to other schools. Schools such as Mystic Valley students, along with Malden Catholic, have reached out and asked if they can join our club and in support. However, we can't really do that since it's at the Malden High School. Memberships are also kind of unstable since it's an after-school club. It is hard to communicate and create an influence in the city government, as we don't really have any power among the city council members. We don't have any direct input in city decisions. While we can have some form of influence, we don't have a say in anything.
Now, members of the youth board will have multiple meetings. multiple biweekly meetings in which they will discuss with other members what is happening in their liaison committees and also discuss their goals as a board. They will also assist and help advise on city events, projects, and other duties as needed. Members will appoint one member to attend city board and commission meetings. They will also update the board and commission on what the youth council has been working on. They will connect to the youth community for city events and announcements to bridge the gap between youth and government. They will also present to this council their goals, agenda, and mission quarterly to the city council. They will also aid the Climate Action Plan Committee in order to fully represent an issue that is very passionate amongst the youth community.
So as many of you might be wondering, how this youth board will be created. And so when it comes to the creation of this youth board, you guys, the city councilors, will be the ones kind of officially creating this. But when it comes to aiding you guys, the Malden Youth Civics Council, we'll be helping you as much as possible because we know you guys are busy and have lots of busy schedules and aren't always able to dedicate lots of time. So we hope to help you guys as much as possible when it comes to making this new program. And for the next part, when it comes to creating this, we hope to have like a review process when it comes to the new appointments for the personal committee and interviews. So we'll be able to kind of like see who are the potential candidates when it comes to creating this youth board because we want it to be put into responsible hands upon creation of this new committee. And so, yeah, we hope to have the review process with interviews and recommendations. And then for the final part, we hope to have a paid adult officer that will be hired to kind of manage this youth board. And for this, we kind of saw this as a necessary thing that we need to do in order to create this process because we think if we have someone that is paid for this duty, then they will be easily able to kind of make sure that this is sustainable in the long run and carries on for many years and not just until people kind of, it is undelegated to someone else. And so we hope to make it so it's sustainable in the long run.
Now, all of the meetings will be open to the public. In order to ensure smooth sailings, the members shall appoint a chairperson and vice chairperson. The youth board members shall receive stipends for their time spent in the meetings to foster a sense of responsibility and also get them a real-life civic feeling.
Member qualifications of the youth board follows. They must be residents of the city, along with attending the youth council meetings as well as liaison committee meetings on a regular basis, and inform these committees of any form of absence prior to these meetings. They also have to fulfill the responsibilities of office held, such as setting an example for the youth in the community. All members shall be between the ages of 13 to 20, so then they can lead the next generation of the youth board. The term of each member shall be 1 year following the city council term, and members are eligible to reapply annually if they meet the member eligibility requirements within a term limit of 3 years.
Recently, our club put out a petition that advocated the establishment of a youth board in Malden. This garnered over 100 signatures within just the first 48 hours, and shown behind us are also additional community member opinions that strongly support this establishment.
And to kind of sum up what this youth board will be and just bring up the last final points, we hope that this youth board will kind of create connect the youth to the government and make sure that the youth can have like a real life experiences interacting with the local governments and actually be able to kind of like represent themselves and work with you guys and kind of just contribute to the government as much as possible. This hopes to be more of like a liaison committee, so it hopes to bridge the gap between the youth and you guys, the counselors, and so that you guys can kind of know what's going on in the youth and, yeah. So when it comes to the final part, this creation of the youth board allows the youth to be connected in a way I've never seen before. And so there's never actually really been a youth board in Malden compared to other cities like Wakefield that have had a youth board for a few years now, and it's been proven to be pretty successful and worked out pretty well. And so creating this youth board would kind of help us catch up to other cities and also kind of make it so that, as I said earlier, the youth will be easily connected to you guys and to the local Malden government. And for the final thing I'd like to bring up when it comes to this presentation is that this is much wanted by the people of the youth, especially the youth. And so as mentioned in the previous slide, we did send out a survey and we've been talking to numerous amounts of people, and almost every single person we've talked to has said that they are in support of the youth board, showing that there is kind of a need and a want for the youth board in Malden. Thank you.
We'd like to thank you for your time.
Okay, I have, there you go. I have a couple of lights on. Councilor Cologne Hayes. Oh, there you go.
Okay, thank you very much. Tremendous, tremendous work. I am so proud sitting here watching you. I have to say that these kids and those behind them and their teachers have worked so hard. They have taken feedback. They have looked up at other cities to see what they were doing that was successful. I believe they contacted all the city councilors, all the school committee members. I'm not sure who got back to them, but they really tried to do their homework and incorporate in and try and find out whatever questions that you might have to try and make this, successful. And just, there's more to be talked about, obviously, but the stipends, just so I saw a couple of people up here go when they heard that, but we talked about that some commissions do get stipends, so everything on here is open, for discussion, and I would love to, I wanted you to all hear this, and I'll think about maybe taking it off the table, maybe hearing what everybody says here, but maybe not tonight, because it is a booked, long agenda, so I already explained that to them, not to expect that, but I want to thank you so much. You did an excellent, excellent job.
Thank you. Councilor McDonald.
Yeah, thank you all so much for being here. I'm excited to help support a way forward for our Malden youth, what's the formal name of the thing we're proposing? The Malden Youth Council? The Malden Youth Council. But then there's Malden Youth Civics Council. So I just want to make sure I got it right. I just wanted to say very briefly, I'm working with our Climate Action Plan Steering Committee. I'm chair of the Energy Efficiency and Sustainability Commission. And we had talked about the real need to reach out to Malden's youth. Obviously, this is a critical issue for pretty much all of the years in front of this one and this one as well. So it's such a big, critical thing for the future safety and resilience of our community. So would love to follow up with you and find a time to engage directly with that steering committee, bring some of the materials that we have for community outreach to make sure that your voices are a part of that project. And so I'll follow up in that regard with our staff and our committee working on that. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Councilor McDonald. Councilor Winslow. Actually, Councilor Winslow, Councilor Linehan's going to go next, if you don't mind. I accidentally put her on, but you will be right after Councilor Linehan.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I first of all just wanted to applaud you for how amazingly you did in your presentation. Like, we have adults that come in and are so much more nervous and stumble over their words, which, I mean, when I come into this chamber and speak before other boards, I'm nervous. Like, it is an intimidating setup, and I just want to acknowledge that, and I know that it takes a lot of courage to come in here, no matter how much you've prepared, and you knocked it out of the park, so I really want to, applaud you again. I think that was just outstanding, and as a parent of a soon-to-be middle school age kid next year, it's amazing to see that there's a path for youth that are going up in Malden schools to get involved, and if this is the future and what our younger kids have to look up to, that's truly amazing. I did just want to kind of echo what Councilor Cologne Hayes and Councilor McDonald said in terms of wanting to be part of finding a path forward for this as the chair of the Personnel and Appointments. If there are things that I can do to help advance it, I know you touched on that a little bit, and there's obviously a lot of detail to be kind of fleshed out here. I'm confident that we can figure that out, whether we take it off the table tonight or at a future meeting. It is a long agenda. Want to be part of finding that path. So kudos to you, and thank you for coming, and look forward to finding what we can do together. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Linehan. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, no, it's great to see you all again. I know I had a great time when I came to the Youth Civic Council and really talked about these ideas, and great to see that the climate action is part of your kind of 6-point things to go ahead, because I know that's something very important for you folks. So no, I'm very supportive. I mean, I think one of the things that as we go as a council and work with you folks to get this going is really to understand, and maybe we have the conversation if you ask some of the other, like what's happening in Wakefield, is really understanding how kind of succession planning and make sure there's always, team B ready to step up when team A goes out in the world. So I think that's one of the challenges of youth councils, is to making sure that there's always the next class ready to step into leadership. So that's one of the things I think, we have to figure out how that works best, and that'll really be up to the youth civic folks. But definitely, it's great. The more input we have, the best. I know I had worked with the A-Voice youth related to our transit action plan and making sure that we got input from the high school youth as well as their families about our transit action plan, and it had some really important feedback in terms of how our communities use our bus system, and that's having an impact of the future bus network planning. So I think it's important finding the right things and having youth chime in and be synced with what we're doing is very critical, because youth are here 24 hours a day sometimes. So you sometimes know more even than about the community than your parents in that time. So looking forward to see how this plays out. Thanks. Great.
Thank you. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, and I'll echo Councilor Linehan's. Y'all did a great job on your presentation. It also helps to come with a group of people who support you, so you know that you have people have your back. So that's a great tactic, and make sure that you do that consistently. It's always good to go into a room with friends. When you talk about the city staff, do you think that this role, and I know we're going to iron out the details, but in terms of where y'all think, do you think it would be something that would be in City Hall, or do you think it would be a better fit if it was a faculty member in some of the schools? Did you have any thoughts about that?
So when it comes to who's going to basically fulfill that role, we think it should be someone that's connected to City Hall, because if it was someone that would be directly connected to a school in particular, we think it might not be like representing and helping, because the youth board is going to be people from various types of schools, so we don't want it to be kind of biased to one school in particular. So we hope for it to be established for someone that's in the city, I forget what it's called, but
City Hall.
Yes, in City Hall.
Perfect. Yeah, I know we have a diversity and equity and inclusion advisor or coordinator. Maybe if we are able to elevate that to a director position in the future, and maybe also keep that coordinator position, maybe there's a way our DEI officer or a director could handle that. I think the I, inclusion, is definitely in that. When it comes to your mission, objectives, or deliverables, do you have anything in mind? I was just kind of brainstorming here. Obviously it's helpful with public engagement to get the word out about public meetings. Hey, show up to the finance committee, they're going to be talking about this, or show up to this conservation commission meeting, they're going to be talking about that. Obviously the city clerk, we always need poll workers. I don't know how old you have to be a poll worker. So 16-year-olds can be poll workers. So if you want to help out with an election, you can get paid. So getting that word out to students, that's a great, not summer job, but fall job, I guess. And I guess they have Tuesdays off when we have elections, right?
Yep.
So you're off of school too, if you ever wanted to do that. And the only other thing I was thinking of, and I'm sure there's many, many more, is helping keep Malden safe and clean. What you end up realizing when you become a city councilor is you're a city councilor, but you're also everything else. And really, as we can testify from Earth Day, park cleanups and keeping Malden clean is really everyone's job. But obviously, I wouldn't say that is your job necessarily, but helping get that word out. Were there any specific things that y'all were thinking of? For deliverables and stuff.
So I believe that social media is one of the key aspects in the roles of youth members, especially in trying to connect these projects with the youth. Like I said earlier, the whole point of this is to bridge the gap between youth and government and kind of get the youth to take initiative in improving the city. Along with that, just starting up any kind of projects, whether they're events or even online projects or even some kind of a campaign that is specifically targeted to the youth to incite change.
Councilor Simonelli, they said events. That's. Yeah, I mean, if I could learn anything from you, it would be how to run an event. You are exquisite when it comes to that. We have Fourth of July events that happen. There are a lot of other events outside, a lot of cultural events, and I'm sure having that connection is crucial, whether it's a cleanup or a 4th of July event, Independence Day event. Thank you for this. I think it's a great opportunity, and I hope we can get this to a compromise that makes everyone happy, and we can really utilize the youth for the value that you bring to our community. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Hayes, you are the last light. May I? Oh, you weren't on there, okay. Councilor Simonelli, there you are.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say, it's nice to see, all you guys come out in force. It's hard these days to get a group together, to come out and talk in front of a board like this, and you guys did a fantastic job. And I'll tell you, I got a lot of experience, not to sit up here and pat myself on the back, with after-school programs. I helped bring the 21st Century Grant Program here from programs in my neighborhood, and so we've got some things going on. It must be like Youth Month or something, because currently right now, I don't know if you guys work at all with Kashana up at the mayor's office and with Kathy McMullen from the Teen Center, because I know they got that thing going on. Because right now, currently, we're working, in my ward, we're working currently with the mayor's office, and we're working with the neighborhood folks and with Kathy McMullen from the Teen Center. And, you guys are more than welcome to jump on in. And it's similar to what you guys are doing now. And like my colleague said so eloquently, that about the events that I put on. So we're actually going to be utilizing the parks, and we're going to be utilizing the youth that are going to be working this summer to help other youth and work along adults. We're going to be putting on a clinic for introduction to baseball, introduction to basketball, introduction to volleyball. We're going to do inside activities in a few of the community rooms in the nearby apartment complexes. We're working with the seniors. We're currently working with the seniors now. We just had an election with them, and Kathy McMullen and a few of her group of kids came down and witnessed that all take place. And I got to say that Suffolk Manor is the only, since COVID, is the only senior housing that has a community group, which makes them a lot stronger when it comes to talking with HUD and getting all kinds of activities and funding to the place where they live. So, and the kids help them do that. So those are some of the things that we're going to be working on in my ward. I know all the other councils are going to be having all kinds of things going on throughout the city through the spring and the summer. We have community policing that's going to take place. Malden Overcoming Addiction is going to be down there. So we have like this whole array of activities that are going to be going on. And we could definitely use you guys down there, and we're going to give you shirts and everything else. And we're going to have a good time. So it's great to see this. It's great to see you guys up here. I know you guys tried to get me and you didn't have the right email because I don't use the cities. I can only carry one phone. That's all my brain allows me to do. So, but you can reach me at any time at 617-579-6421 if you guys want to get involved with any of these programs, or you talk to your counselor. I'm sure she'll let me know about it. But so we're currently doing those things right now and putting them into place. So it's great to see you guys coming out here with such spirit and enthusiasm. So now we know that we can kind of pluck you guys too and get you in our program. So thank you, Madam President. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Cologne-Hayes, are you going to wrap up, or then would you mind if I spoke before you wrapped up? Okay, normally I go last, but I figure I'll go before. So I also want to extend my sincere thanks for you coming out. It was a great presentation. I love the fact that, as Councilor O'Malley said, you brought backup. It's always good to have backup. A couple of things that just came to mind, with some of the things that were brought up here, and I think things that the City Council will have to wrestle with, is usually a board or a commission that gets paid or gets a stipend isn't an ordinance, okay? So it would be an ordinance, or as just talking to the city clerk, the registrar of voters gets paid through the state ordinance. So, it's not just like something that we can just do. It needs a process. It needs financial backing, should we go down that route. The other thing that I think that we as a council here need to really think about, and something that we are going through right now, the city has something that's called a charter, and that is kind of what establishes how we run and how we operate. And we are actually in the process of trying to redo that charter. And one of the big discussions that we've been having over the last couple of months that Councilor Winslow has spent a lot of work on, because we've had some disagreements, is boards and commissions and how they're going to be structured and who they're going to report to and who's going to be responsible for them and pick the members, et cetera. So we're having a little, back and forth as whether it's council, whether it's the mayor, et cetera. So we have a lot of work to do in that realm should we move forward with a civics board, if that's the outcome of this, it would kind of be, it would be basically connected to the decision about the charter too. So I just want to set the stage for you that that's a work in progress for us, and it's taking us quite a bit of meetings to get through it. So I just want to say that if it takes us a while to kind of get back to you and figure something out, it's because, we have a number of other things on our plate that we are working with that could tie into this to some degree. So anyway, that was kind of what I wanted to say there, so thank you. But once again, thank you. It was a great presentation. I love seeing you guys. So Councilor Cologne-Hayes.
Thank you again, and thank you for that. I was going to wrap it up and address some of those issues, so great job again. We did discuss the fact that this probably won't decisions tonight, but the fact that you have kept at it, it kept coming back and taking feedback and coming back, that's exactly what we want. And I know it's not just you. Malden High, Malden Catholic, Mystic Valley, I'm sure they're all filled with you just like you. And so I'm glad that you're opening that up to all the schools. I'm willing to talk about whatever way we can do this. The thing I want to be clear on, though, is that it's coming from the Civics Club, and what they do want to learn about is government and government in action and how it works. So that should be forefront, but wherever it lands and how we figure this out through another, whatever it is, I'm willing to work on this and stay with them also. We've been working a long time on this, and so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, and I would hope that, while, this is all being, fleshed out, that I do know that the Civics Club, I know that, there's some pros and cons that you showed to us, but I'm assuming that you're all part of the Civics Club, and I know that the mayor does meet with you once a month. I would hope that you're all still going. I know that he does bring in special guest speakers to speak with you about different topics that you're interested in. So I would, really say continue to do that. You do have a platform, you do have someone who is listening to you. And, in working with you in the interim. So, I recognize the fact that the mayor has, been doing this for quite a number of months, hasn't he? Yes, so I would definitely continue doing that. So, thank you very much, okay? And we'll be speaking with you. Okay, just get some lights off here. Next order of business, public comment. Oh, I'm sorry. Public comment is allowed under the council rules. Each speaker is limited to subject matter relevant to the evening's agenda and must keep their comments to 2 minutes or less. Clerk, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
Not in person, but I do have an email.
Would you please read it?
On paper 137-23. My name is James Tuxbury, and I live at 111 Glen Street. This correspondence is in regards to the one-time pension increase of 2% on a base of $18,000. I am writing this in regard to a group of people who are always underrepresented, the survivors of our retired. When the retired worker dies, his or her survivor immediately has a reduction in the pension by 1/3, and that takes effect on the actual date of death. The survivor also has a large increase in health insurance premiums. If survivor has to have family coverage, the payment goes from retiree family plan at $614.50 a month to $1,143.24 a month, an increase of $528. If survivor is fortunate enough to have Medicare, payment will increase from $99.24 a month to $198.48 a month, an increase of $99. Also keep in mind that Medicare is not free. Our survivors need any increase that can be given. Someday my wife will also be a survivor. As you can see, this one-time increase only brings $360 for the year. The increases I mentioned above are monthly increases. Thank you so much for listening, and sorry I could not attend in person, but the streetlights are about to come on. Jim Tuxbury.
Thank you. Okay. So next order of business, please.
Paper 169-23, minutes for the meeting of April 11th, 2023, and paper 170-23, minutes for the meeting of April 18th.
Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, I just had a couple comments on paper 16923, the minutes of April 11th. On page 4, we had the discussion about the bike trail ordinance, and there was a reference to bike advocates, but the people who are here were really advocates for electric uniwheels, so that should just be a change change the language from bike advocates to advocates for electric uniwheels.
Yep.
And then on page 7, maybe this is some clarification, but that was where we were talking about the resolve related to that housing scenario. And we did vote for scenario 1, but I believe out of committee, we also had a caveat in there about wanting to make sure that in pursuing scenario 1, we were working to protect ground level retail. So I know that was a concern of Councilor O'Malley. So I just wanted to make sure that I want to make sure that we understand that the resolve that came out of the rules and ordinance discussion did have that language reflected. So I couldn't really tell from the minutes or whatever, but I just want that clarification that was, I think everybody agreed that was something we thought was important to, in supporting scenario 1. We also wanted to make sure that we weren't wiping out ground level retail as a priority. So those are my 2 comments or whatever. So,
Thank you, Councilor.
to make a motion for those additions or.
Oh, Councilor O'Malley has his light on. Do we have another comment? Oh, wait a minute, you didn't go on. Hold on. No, that was me. There you go.
I would second your second amendment for the zoning, clarifying that we wanted to look into protecting retail, looking into corridors. The other one, though, I think they were PEV, personal electric vehicle advocates, because there were a couple people with not necessarily the uniwheels, but the ride, sit-on scooters.
I find that a friendly amendment, so if you want to see that.
Okay, so PEV, personal electric vehicles. But yeah, and just to make a comment, it doesn't need to be reflected in the minutes necessarily, but I think that we had asked that they meet public, and I think that they did post them, that the meetings will be public. But are they having it at 11 a.m.? Did I read that correctly? Is that?
Yes, the consultant that's what he's scheduled for. It's not
Really?
scheduled for nighttime meetings. Sorry, I should have gotten back to
Okay,
him.
no worries. Okay, so I
Yes,
just wanted to
but
clarify.
they are posted, but they
Okay.
will be Zoom.
So I'll second both of his motions.
All right.
Thank
On Councilor Winslow's amendment to the minutes, seconded by Councilor O'Malley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The amendments have been approved. On Councilor Winslow's motion to approve the minutes, seconded by Councilor O'Malley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. Next order of business, please.
The council is scheduled to hold 2 public hearings on National Grid petitions for electrical work to be done in the city.
Okay, the clerk will read the petition, the first petition, please.
First petition, paper 171-23, Massachusetts Electric Company, DBA National Grid of North Andover, plan number 30683608, to construct a line of underground electric conduits located at the intersection of Eastern Avenue and Marlborough Street in accordance with the attached plans. Hearing required.
Okay. All right, I am going to declare the public hearing. Oh, actually, could you read the, I'm sorry, hold on a second, I just want to, okay. You know, state your name and affiliation and address, please.
How's it going? My name's Alex Petnati. I'm with National Grid Electric at 170 Medford Street in Malden.
Would you mind if I called you Alex?
Yeah, that's
Is that okay? Okay,
Thank you.
That'll be easier. Could you tell us a little bit about this project, please?
Yeah, so which one do you want to start
The
with? 'Cause I
first one,
noticed-
we were talking about the intersection of Eastern Ave and Marlborough Street.
Eastern Avenue, Marlborough Street. Okay, so when there was construction going on over there, they damaged some underground conduits below the sidewalk. So we're gonna have to excavate to make repairs to those primary conduits. It should only be not even a day's worth of work.
Okay, whose ward is this in? Councilor Winslow? Are you aware of that?
Yeah, no, I'm aware of it. I've gone out to look at the site. It's a, you know, is there also the connection into the new building as well? Is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
as well?
exactly. I
So-
believe it's 960 Eastern Ave.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at it, you know, this is where the new storage building is being built. So it's all part of, you know, the type of thing that putting in new service for a new building and that type of thing. You know, I do have one comment just related to, you know, there's some changes to the driveways. And so after the, you know, the digging is done, I just want to make sure that they put back the sidewalk as per the site plans for the storage unit, so that I think they're kind of reducing some driveways and shifting it. So that's something the grid should be aware of, and that should be part of the order, that whatever restoration they do is going to be consistent with the site plan that was approved by the, you know, the ZBA in terms of how the driveways change or whatever. So it doesn't make sense for them to put it back the way it is and then have the storage people dig up the sidewalk again to comply with the plan. So, yeah. But yeah, I'm aware it's you know, it's the type of thing of just really almost adding new service to an entirely new building. So.
Okay, any other questions from the councils? Okay, then I am going to declare the public hearing open. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please come forward. And for the third time, anyone looking to speak in favor of this petition, please come forward. Seeing none and hearing none, I now declare that portion of the public hearing closed. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this petition, please come forward and state your name. Anyone looking to speak, I got to do it 3 times. Anyone looking to speak in opposition, please come forward. Anyone looking to speak in opposition, please come forward. Seeing none and hearing no one, I declare that portion of the public hearing closed. Let's move on to the second petition. If you would read that, please. Clerk.
Paper 172-23 petition, Massachusetts Electric Company, DBA National Grid of North Andover, Plan 30511-632, to construct a line of underground electric conduits located at the intersection of Main Street and Cross Street in accordance with attached plans.
Alex,
Hearing required.
would you please explain this petition?
Yep, so at the corner of Main and Cross Street, there's an existing manhole there. We're gonna be trenching across Main Street from the corner of Cross Street to another existing manhole to be able to tie into the secondary service for a new building or not a new building, but an existing building at 114 Main Street. So we need to open up from one side of Main Street to the other to lay new secondary conduit.
Councilor Crowe?
Yes, and I know that, you know, 114 is actually Bell Rock Market, so that I think was where the service is going to. So I know when I looked at the notice, it was actually from November 28th, 2022, so I feel like it's quite a while ago.
Yeah, we move slow.
So I think mine is more about because the last time they had come, they told me they were trenching down the sidewalk, but this is going across the street. And, you know, my concern is we're doing a lot of work over there with paving, and I really don't want to have this little skirt. I mean, you know, because it'll be kind of a mess. And even when we did do the trenching in the sidewalk, it took forever to them to redo the sidewalk. The trench was there for a long time. So I understand the need for this, but I really want to make sure that we do have, it's in that apron of the area. Because that intersection is kind of a big one. It's a very busy one.
Very busy.
So I don't want to trench.
Okay.
Okay, so do you understand what she wants?
So you're saying you want us to make the,
Well,
when
we
we
do
repave
have-
it, want it to be as
It
clean
is
as
gonna,
possible?
there is some paving that's gonna happen over there in the apron, and I would like to make sure that you work with the other people that are gonna be doing some of the,
Yeah.
because they was doing a parking lot, so now they've agreed to do the apron that goes down Cross Street from, I think it's like 10 Cross Street down onto Main Street.
Yeah.
So I need this to, to coordinate, so they're not doing one piece, or we're at least extending it with what National Grid is doing and the other.
Yeah, I'll pass that
entity.
on and we can coordinate that.
That's something that you might want to have Alex go out and do a site walk with you.
Absolutely. So,
He's Alex.
so again, I think you just brought it up,
Yeah,
so the trenching is happening on the sidewalk.
so it's across the street and the sidewalk. So we're going from an existing manhole to another existing manhole and then to a handhole in front of 114. Yeah. Smaller than a manhole.
A what hole? 'Cause honestly, when we met, and
Yeah, I think you
earlier
met
with
Did
Moses.
you meet with Moses?
Yes, and it was only talking about the sidewalk. So this is sort of new information that it's going across the street. And I thought it was like the manholes, but I didn't think we were trenching across the street. They were going from manhole to manhole. How do you do that? I don't know, but that
So when you met with Moses, is that what?
it was,
you
we
guys
were
went
only
over?
talking about the sidewalk, the trenching of the sidewalk.
Okay. Yeah,
So
'cause
that's what when
he
you were
moved to a
talking
different
about.
role within the company, so this petition hearing kind of got thrown onto me. So let me talk with him and then we can
Yeah,
discuss that.
because it was just, that was the trenching. They were gonna bring the conduit manhole to manhole, but then had to trench in the sidewalk.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, let me clarify with him and then I can give you a call. We can kind of go over it.
Counselor O'Malley. Nate.
So the plans, I think the reason why there's some confusion is the plans that we have in front of us
Yeah.
show an existing line going from the east side of Main Street to the west side.
Yeah.
And that the proposed new conduit would just go up the sidewalk. You're saying that the entirety needs to be replaced?
Can I actually see a copy of this?
Yeah, it's here, it's on my phone, so whichever you prefer.
The diagram shows the ledge, right, existing, straight line, and then it says proposed.
Okay, then that, yes, it's just in that center of the sidewalk. That was misunderstood from when it was passed on to me from Moses. It's just gonna be that section of the sidewalk. I thought he had told me it was gonna be in the street as well, but I guess we just have to tap into that. We just have to.
But if there
I
is,
just talked to him like an hour ago about this.
but if there is any trenching, make sure you, in the road, which it probably won't be, make sure it does what you wanted. And then, and ideally, if there's already a conduit, maybe you can just snake it down
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Without having to do any trenching. Okay.
That was,
So that
that
makes
was
more
my,
sense. That
that
makes
was,
more
all right,
sense,
good,
yeah.
because that was my
Sorry
understanding
about
at
that.
first.
I just
and
talked, I
was-
talked to him very briefly and kind of
Okay.
thought I had the gist
So
of
we're
it, but-
trenching in the sidewalk.
Exactly, from that
Okay.
manhole to 114.
If there's that, so can we make sure that the only trenching that happens, that we approve this, that within the sidewalk, and if there's any trenching that's gonna happen in the street, then you have to come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Counselor Spatafora.
So it's 75 feet, which is pretty lengthy. I mean, it's not a small section.
Yeah.
That's probably 7 or 8, right? Is it, are they,
Panels, yeah,
Panels, right? 7 or 8 panels?
about, yeah,
Like Counselor Crowe mentioned, that's a pretty busy intersection there.
yeah.
And how long till you replace the sidewalk? Because the last thing you want to do is people walking on that street.
Yeah.
That is literally Main Street.
Yeah.
And that is a tough intersection to maneuver with vehicles, never mind people stepping out on that sidewalk. And I believe there's a convenience store there, so there's a lot of traffic, foot traffic. And the other thing is, I think there's actually a handicap ramp that you might be taking up there.
Okay.
If not pretty close.
Yeah.
So, when you dig it up, how long do you probably gonna put down what, black top as temporary patch, or will you?
Yeah, so I'd say the work itself would probably take 2 days worth of work. And to get it completely back to the way it was, is that what you're saying?
Are you gonna close the sidewalk, I'm saying, for 2 days? Or are you gonna put steel plates?
I'm not
You
sure
know?
on that, to be honest with you. I'd have to talk to the civil crews.
Yeah, I mean, Council
exactly how
Council
they're doing
Crowe, I would just say that if it takes 2 days, it's certainly not a long time, but I think taking that section of sidewalk off in that place, offline for 2 days, I don't want them to close it, I think they should put they can put those plates on top, just so they can walk over it, just because of where it is.
It is a major spot for people,
Yeah.
kids walking from Ledger Street side. Because, I do agree with Council Spatafora, because it is sort of a major section for the people that live on, the kids that live on, like, the Medford Street side.
Yeah,
That goes to Ferryway, and so there's,
yeah.
that's a major
Yeah,
crossing
they
spot.
definitely is major foot traffic over there, so totally get that.
Okay, is everybody good? Okay. So I'm going to open the public hearing. So, for the first one, and I closed it. No, yeah, so, second, at least I think I closed it. You did. I did. So, okay, so we're going to open the public hearing on this second petition. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please come to the podium, state your name and address. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please come to the podium. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please come to the podium. Seeing none and hearing no one, I declare that portion of the public hearing closed. Open the second portion. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this petition, please come to the podium. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the podium, to this petition, please come to the podium. Anyone wishing to speak, it's like a tongue twister, in opposition to this petition, please come to the podium. Seeing no one and hearing no one, I declare that portion of the public hearing closed. Okay, Counselor, so from the chair, we have these two petitions in front of us. If you'll remember, we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago with National Grid about double poles, and we also had a conversation with them about underground piping and infrastructure that they leave once they replace it. Councilor O'Malley and I have met with the legal department, and although it doesn't look like we have much leeway to get them to take things out of the ground at this point, still under discussion, I do believe that we have the right to continue to ask for the list of double poles and at least the list of the equipment that has been abandoned underground. So I would suggest that we not approve these petitions and once again put the request to National Grid to please provide us with the information that we asked for.
In that meeting, table them. We're not going to deny them.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're looking to table them until we get more information about your infrastructure.
Okay, and is that about the double poles, is that what?
Yes, we wanted a list of the double poles, which is something that we ask for,
Yeah,
constantly. Haven't done it in probably a year. And then we were also looking for a list of the abandoned infrastructure, underground infrastructure.
yeah,
So if you could provide us or bring that back
okay,
to the powers that be and tell them that we would like those lists,
gotcha.
we would greatly appreciate that. So on Councilor motion.
To table the petitions.
Councilor O'Malley's motion to table the petition, seconded by Councilor Crowe. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay. So we'll be looking forward to seeing you back here,
That
Alex.
sounds good, thank you
Okay?
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next order of business, please.
Paper 173-23, petition, outdoor parking, TJ Automotive Corp., 315 Pleasant Street, 20 spaces, renewal.
Councilor Seeker, on Councilor Seeker's motion to refer to license, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion, the petition has been referred to license. Next order of business, please.
Paper 174-23, order that the sum of $3 million is appropriated to pay cost of street reconstruction, including the payment of all cost incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 7.1 of the general laws, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes to the city therefore.
Councilor McDonald.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. So this and the next paper are both submitted by the administration to continue our accelerated program of street and sidewalk repair. And there's a free cash paper and a bonded paper. You know, for folks who have not been following the details here, the city does receive about $1 million a year in Chapter 90 state funding formula to repair our roads and sidewalks. But we've, as the council, have supported certainly in recent years additional resources because this is such a priority for the city. And so that work is done through the engineer's office in coordination with our utility and other infrastructure improvements so that we're really maximizing when we need to rip up streets and sidewalks, and we get as much done as possible and really leverage all those funding sources. So this is another layer coming down in proposal, and the CFO Rannigan has assured me also that there's forthcoming kind of more of a strategic overview of where we're headed with our full, set of road, paving, and sidewalk replacement needs. So ask that we refer this to the Finance Committee so that we can discuss these two papers further. So I'm prepared to make a motion to refer to Finance.
On Councilor McDonald's motion to refer to Finance, seconded by Councilor Simonelli. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The paper is referred to Finance. Next order of business,
Paper
please.
175-23, order that the sum of $3 million is appropriated from available general fund free cash to pay for costs associated with street and sidewalk reconstruction.
Motion to refer to Finance.
On Councilor McDonald's motion to refer to Finance, seconded by Councilor Simonelli. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The paper is referred to Finance. Next order of business.
Paper 176-23, order that the appropriation enumerated below, being in the amount of $300,000, be appropriated from the Community Preservation Act Fund for the following project: Affordable Housing Trust Fund to Community Housing. I'm sorry, $300,000 from Community Housing.
Councilor McDonald.
Yes, and so this and the following paper are two recommended projects from our Community Preservation Commission, which of course require council approval. So we'll be referring these to Finance to discuss those. And I just want to take this opportunity to also remind everyone that despite my name being on all of these papers, these are not really from me. They are from the mayor or the CPC or the appropriate entity, but because only a councilor can sponsor a paper, I am carrying these papers by virtue of my position as Finance Chair. So I look forward to discussing them. They are not necessary. I take no credit for getting them to this stage. So I'd like to make a motion to refer that to the Finance Committee.
On Councilor McDonald's motion to refer the paper to Finance, seconded by Councilor Simonelli. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The paper is referred to Finance. Next order of business, please.
Paper 177-23, order that the appropriation enumerated below, being in the amount of $160,000, be appropriated from the Community Preservation Act Fund for the following project: Trafton Park Improvement Project Phase 2 construction, $160,000 from FY23 General Reserve, sponsored by Carrie McDonald.
Yeah, thank you.
You notice I haven't even shut your light off.
No, I really appreciate that. Let me further clarify. I'm very excited about both of these papers and just simply can't claim any particular credit for them. So I'd like to enthusiastically refer this to the Finance Committee for further discussion.
Did you want to speak, Councilor Winslow?
I just want the second. As
No,
the board.
yeah, I can second that, and then, no, I'm excited to see this go forward. This will complement the $1 million in ARPA funds that the mayor's dedicated to Phase 2 of the Trafton Park improvements, which will totally revamp the ball field out there, as well as the dog park, and install irrigation that's really needed to get the field up to snuff there. So very excited. This will ensure that we have other amenities like the folks who use the dog park really want to have a water fountain for the dogs, and we'll put one by the court area so that there's a water fountain out there for people, and there'll be a big electrical upgrade so that when we have 4th of July and Halloween, that we'll have a much better electrical system out there. And one of the things the CPC asked was to see if we could put some solar lighting. So we're going to pursue that with the engineering folks as well. So excited to see this go forward. We're just the other, we did, thanks to help with Alex Pratt, who's overseeing this in OSBCD, the project's on schedule we're looking to try to go out to bid by the end of May. So it's important to make sure we have all the money lined up so that as the, the bids go out and come back in, that we have the money to sign the contract. So thank you.
On Councilor McDonald's motion to refer the paper to finance, and I'm going to let Councilor Winslow second it if no one minds. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The paper is referred to finance. Next order of business.
Enrolled ordinance paper 18-23, be it hereby ordained by the Malden City Council that the code of the city for Malden be amended by adding Title 6, Chapter .20, Section .040, permit for exterior vending machines.
On Councilor Crow's motion to receive the,
Well, it's
Speak
to
on,
ordain,
yeah, to
but I
ordain.
can just a reminder that this paper is really putting in a permitting process for outdoor vending machines. As we've heard that there's been sort of an issue, and this gives us a little more leeway to actually work with the people that, that have the vending machines, but into support of the neighborhood who is complaining about it. So I make a motion to ordain.
on Councilor Crow's motion to ordain, seconded by Councilor Condon. Clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes? Yes. Councilor Condon? Yes. Councilor Crowe?
Yes.
Councilor Linehan? Yes. Councilor McDonald?
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley? Councilor Seega? Yes. Councilor Simonelli? Councilor Spatafora? Yes. Councilor Winslow? Yes. Council President Murphy?
Yes. The ordinance is ordained. Another one done.
Okay,
Next order of business, please.
Enrolled ordinance paper 81-23, be it hereby ordained by the City Council of the City of Malden that the code of the City of Malden be amended by adding Title II, Chapter .16, Section 1.150, Police Community Advisory Council.
Left your light on, Councilor Crowe?
I left my line on, thank you very much. I actually, just again, a sort of reminder, and I'm going to use like some from the minutes, so Council McDonald's words that described it in our last meeting, that the Police Advisory Committee is set up to encourage community engagement with the police department, including public information, feedback, and review of policies. So this advisory council is charged with reaching out to specifically community members who have experienced racism, gender bias, discrimination, homophobia, ableism, and other forms of oppression, and those who have been disproportionately impacted by the civil justice system. So what this commission is not is an investigatory committee, but the state really handles that. But I thought that really kind of framed it again, so I just wanted to put that out there as a reminder of what it is, what it isn't, and that it has the full endorsement of the mayor and the police chief. So motion to ordain.
Seconded by Councilor McDonald. Councilor McDonald? Yes. Okay. On Councilor Crow's motion to ordain, seconded by Councilor McDonald. Clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes? Yes. Councilor Condon? Yes. Councilor Crowe?
Yes.
Councilor Linehan? Yes. Councilor McDonald? Yes. Councilor O'Malley? Yes. Councilor Seega? Yes. Councilor Simonelli? Yes. Councilor Spatafora? Yes. Councilor Winslow? Yes. Council President Murphy?
Yes. The ordinance is ordained. Next order of business. Councilor Crowe, you're following in Councilor McDonald's footsteps here. Not turning your light off.
Paper 178-23, Committee Report, the Standing Committee on Rules and Ordinance, to whom was referred Paper 135 of Series 2023. Having considered the same, make the following report that the paper be recommended out favorably as amended to the full City Council.
On Councilor Crow's motion to receive their committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The committee report has been received. Clerk, if you would read the paper.
Paper 135-23, be it hereby ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden, 2.16.005, Affordable Housing Trust Fund, Board of Trustees, is hereby amended.
Councilor Crowe for the paper.
Thank you, Madam President. So last week we met about this, and it's adding in a paragraph that really just kind of frames a little better what the Affordable Housing trustees work on, and we made a couple just amendments, but I'll just read the paragraph. It is the trustees shall act as the city's primary advisor on affordable housing policy under the guidance of the Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development, In this capacity, they will create an affordable housing trust fund action plan to include goals around affordable housing development, preservation, acquisition, and housing stability. There you go. Such plan shall be updated at least every 5 years and will guide city officers, agencies, boards, and commissions, and other city entities related to the affordable housing policy. So we thought that was a good change. It really gave, again, a frame of what the Affordable Housing Trust, with their expertise with the trustees, and gave them that charge. So it came out 100% favorably. So I make a motion to enroll.
Okay, on Councilor Crow's motion to enroll, seconded by I got all kinds of seconds here. I don't know who said it first. Council Simonelli. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Papers enrolled. Oh, you had a, oh, I'm sorry. Council. I'm sorry, I thought you were trying to second.
I just wanted to clear, this, other entities could still build affordable housing, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, hold on, Council McDonald. Council McDonald.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that, this really does reflect the work that the Affordable Housing Trust Fund is already doing. They created an action plan in 2021, which has a lot of great work and involved a lot of community, public engagement with residents, housing professionals. They bring a huge amount of expertise. And so this really is just recognizing the role that they're already playing and making sure that that's transparent within our system, that they're kind of setting the tone on how to get affordable housing done on the implementation side in all of these terms: stability, development, and preservation. So.
What's sustainability?
Sustainability, absolutely.
Okay, so we're good.
Yes, we are.
Next order of business, please.
Paper 179-23, Committee Report. The Standing Committee on Rules and Ordinance, to whom was referred Paper 238 of Series 2022, having considered the same, make the following report: that the paper be recommended out favorably as amended to the full City Council.
On Councilor Crow's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Committee report is received. Councilor Crow for the committee.
Thank you. I just want to kind of give a little background of this paper. So we have in the city of Malden the Hunger Network, and it's made up of lots of different groups that kind of work on hunger issues. And it's been in existence for many years now. And a few years ago, they did some work to generate the Community Food Assessment Report that we all received a copy of. And really the interesting thing about that report, if you want to take a second look, is they began collecting all the data pre-COVID. So we had some data before COVID hit, and then they continued on collecting more data during COVID. So it really does give us some rich data and information. And it's besides just food insecurity, but also the accessibility and affordability of culturally appropriate foods, dietary needs, that people experience. And one of the recommendations in that Community Food Assessment Report was to establish a Food Policy Council. Again, the Hunger Network kind of works on a piece of that, but once a Food Policy Council is established, they can actually go for state funding to explore further some of their recommendations and actually implement those. So that's why we're creating from the Hunger Network a Food Policy Council. This came to the Ordinance Committee sort of initially as an ordinance, but after meeting with Chris Webb and his team and the mayor's office, we changed it in committee last week to a resolve that the mayor implement an executive policy that's a Food Policy Council. That just gives this committee a little more flexibility to kind of do the work and change the things that they need to. So under this Food Policy Council order, it will sit under Chris Webb. So it will have a staff person that's going to work on that to kind of things move forward. And I think that's incredibly important because if they're going for grants, really having that city connection and making sure that things are, done with fidelity. So so we do have neighboring communities that all have food policy councils, including Everett, Medford, Somerville, and Revere. They've all adopted this. And so they have some of those. And for the last kind of year and a half, the Hunger Network has been working with the Mass Food Collaborative, who really is encouraging to have their own food policy council. And they're one of the grant funders. So to kind of pull these things to fruition. So with that, I'd make a motion that we adopt the resolve establishing a food policy council.
Okay, so, hold on a second. Clerk, could you please read the paper?
Sorry.
So shall I read the original and then the amended language as well, just to get a clear picture of what she's talking about?
You're going to read the 4 pages?
No. Just this paper.
Okay,
The
just
original,
right, okay.
paper
Yes.
238-22, order that the Malden City Council establish a food policy council, amended to reflect language saying resolved that it is the sense of the city council that the mayor consider the establishment of a food policy council.
Yes, okay.
And he has considered that already. I think this is just really an endorsement of that. I think it gives it a little more strength that it was proposed, it's there, and that's endorsed by the city council.
Okay, so on Councilor Crow's motion to pass the resolve, seconded by Councilor Seega. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The resolve has been passed. Next order of, actually, you're going to be coming back on in a minute.
Paper 180-23, communication from Mayor Gary Christensen presenting his administrative policy to establish a food policy council.
Okay, so, 1 second. On Councilor Crow's motion to receive and place the communication on file, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay. Oh, I'm not opposed. None. Paper has been placed on file. Communication has been placed on file. Next order of business.
Paper 181-23, committee report, the Standing Committee on Rules and Ordinance in a joint session with Finance Committee, to whom was referred paper 136, series of 2023, having considered the same, make the following report. Joint committees unanimously recommend paper 136 out favorably for a vote of the full city council.
I am going to put both Councilor McDonald and Councilor Crow's lights on for this one.
Thank you.
Okay, on Councilor Crow's motion and Councilor McDonald's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay. The committee report is received, and we're going to take this in 2 pieces because this is actually an ordinance and a finance paper. So we will start with the ordinance. We'll start with the ordinance.
Paper 136-23, be it hereby ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden be amended by updating Title II, Chapter 20, Sections 030, 040, 050, and 060, as it is related to non-union employee compensation by adding a 3% cost of living adjustment effective July 1st, 2022, to the officer, specialist clerk, and unclassified salary schedules.
And I'm going to have you read, just so everyone understands what this total paper is, if you would read the finance section of this, and then we'll go back and talk about them, because I think we need to enroll the ordinance, and then if we feel it's appropriate, we might want to ordain it, suspend docket rules and ordain it this evening.
To fund these increases, the following funds totaling $148,352.12 be transferred from salary reserve to the following accounts. Assessors, 4268.09. Inspectional services, 17069.11. City clerk, 3596.01. Water, 4665.25. OSPCD, 19,243.79. Treasurer, 9692.67. Controller, 13,594.19. IT, 8206.13. Mayor's office, $16,408.74. DPW, 6957.77. Legal, 10,408.74. City Council, 5744.29. Health, 1350.26, Fire, 4251.18, Police, 4593.50, Library, 5907.17, Recreation, 1321.37, HR, 7477.67, Teen Center, 1321.37, Parking, 2274.83.
Thank you very much. Councilor Crowe?
So in order to make these changes, that the ordinance needs to reflect the new salary schedule so that the finance can actually fund the ordinances in there. So we make a motion that we update the
Enroll
enroll.
the ordinance, seconded by Councilor Sika. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The paper has been enrolled. Is there any wish to
So,
suspend docket rules?
yes, I do wish to suspend docket rules for the purposes of ordaining. I think they've been a long time out
Okay.
there raised.
Yes, so on Councilor Crow's motion to suspend docket rules for the purpose of ordaining, seconded by Councilor Sika, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Clone Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Councilor Linehan. Yes. Councilor McDonald.
I think he's in favor.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley.
Apologies.
Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Spatafora. Yes. Councilor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. Councilor Crowe? Councilor Crow's motion to ordain?
Yes.
Seconded by Councilor Sika. Clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Clone Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Councilor Linehan. Yes. Councilor McDonald.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Spatafora. Yes. Councilor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. Okay, that part one's done. Part two, Councilor McDonald.
Yes, before I make a motion to
Adopt.
to adopt the financial paper here, I wanted to just make a process request to our clerk and legal office. So we had a, the way that this paper came down was like a combined document, and we took a combined vote in the Rules and Ordinance Committee. When we updated the library salary schedule earlier this year, we split them out into separate papers. Now, I think both are appropriate and both are, I would just like a recommendation, clearly spelled out how those kinds of papers should be submitted and how we should vote on them, because we spent a couple minutes trying to make sure we were doing it procedurally correct, and I think we should have a standard practice for how these are submitted, and then how we're voting in committee, and so I'd like to ask for that from our legal and clerk's office.
And I would second that because after you had your discussion, the poor city clerk had to go through that same discussion with me later on this morning, because I was like, there should be two papers.
Right,
So,
exactly.
Yes, so, yeah, I agree, so.
Okay, and then we'll share that with the
Yeah.
controller's office so that they're able to submit
Yes.
in a consistent form. Okay, great. So,
I would just say point of information.
Let me get you on, Councilor Spatafora.
The reason why it probably should be two papers too is because one's financial, so
Right.
it's a different threshold to pass. Not that we hope to ever see that, but it's a different voting majority for financial paper, so it's probably, I was always, as long as I've been, what?
Bonding is
That's right, that's right. It's true,
But-
good catch.
but still,
Yeah,
it's,
you should do separate papers, yep.
Well, that's why
right, you
I
need
was
8 and
splitting
6.
it
You need 8 and 6 for
in this. I
bonding,
didn't
yeah.
want to do one vote, but it made it confusing, even just discussing how we were actually going to do that tonight, so.
so I'll make a motion to adopt the financial paper to fund these salary increases backdated to the beginning of this fiscal year for our very worthy city staff.
Okay. Would you call? So on Councilor McDonald's motion to adopt, seconded by Councilor Condon. Probably should call the roll as finance.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Councilor Linehan. Yes. Councilor McDonald.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Spatafora. Yes. Councilor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. The paper has been adopted. Next order of business, please.
Paper 182-23.
You're back on, Councilor McDonald.
All right, please read, please.
Committee report. The Standing Committee on Finance, to whom was referred papers 137, 138, 160, and 161, series of 2023. Having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends these papers out favorably to the full council.
On Councilor McDonald's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Councilor McDonald for the committee.
Yeah, thank you. So we had members of our Malden Retirement Board in to discuss this proposal to take advantage.
Excuse
sorry.
me. Clerk, would you please read the first paper?
The first paper is 137-23. Order that the City Council approve an additional 2% COLA for fiscal year 23 retroactive to July 1st, 2022 for all retirees and survivors of the Malden Retirement System.
Councilor McDonald for the paper.
Okay, thank you. So we met with members of the Malden Retirement Board. We have 2 members of the Malden Retirement Board here today. Thank you for being here and discuss this recommendation from the Retirement Board to take advantage of a state option that was presented to municipalities to increase the cost of living adjustment on a one-time basis from the amount that they can recommend up to a maximum, which is 3%. Up to a maximum of 5%, which requires our additional approval, taking into account, of course, the high cost of inflation currently in Massachusetts and most other places. So I think we had a good discussion in the committee about the impacts of this. It does put a couple more dollars in the pocket of our retirees on fixed income. It does add significantly to the city's long-term liability. I think we had hoped to hear directly from Controller Rannigan, who has, I think, consistently had a different opinion than the majority on the board about a couple of the changes that have been made to the base amount and to cost of living adjustments in the past. So he sent me just some language along this that I wanted to share. He said that. Reminding folks that this 3% only gets applied to the base. It'll add $2.3 million in our liability to our pension obligation for where it stands today. That's mapped out over the next 7 years, I think. And the actuarial analysis was shared with us in a slide deck, and we went through those details. Noting that Malden's COLA base is currently $18,000, which is the highest allowed by law, which I believe we increased last year. And so that's the amount that the cost of living adjustment gets applied to. This results in each retiree receiving an extra $45 per month, and decreasing to 5% for fiscal year 23 will result in an additional 2%, which is $30 per month per retiree. So you would add those together to get the additional amount per month for a retiree if we approve this. And so he noted that they're in the midst of creating the FY24 budget process, in which we'll see a lot of increasing costs around health insurance, our contribution to the Northeast Metro Tech project, new construction and capital projects, and just that this is an increased liability for the city. So that's the perspective from our Chief Financial Officer, and I hope that we're able to have some better kind of conversations between now and next year, if there are future decision points about the long-term impact and planning for how our retirement obligations interact with the city's long-term financial picture. So I'm happy to make a motion to approve. It was approved unanimously in committee, but happy to have any other discussion on the motion as well. Should I make the motion and then we can discuss? Okay. I think your mic is not on, Madam President.
We have a motion by Councilor McDonald, seconded by Councilor Conan, but we do have 2 lights on. We have Councilor Spatafora, who would like to speak, and Councilor O'Malley.
Am I first, Madam President?
You are, Councilor Spatafora.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I think this has been a recurring theme the last couple of years for obvious reasons. I want to certainly thank the finance team and the CFO. It's never easy to continue to give out increases, but the same token is, the cost of living for 2023 for Social Security was, I think, the highest ever at 8.7%. And just for the general public, I do appreciate Council McDonald's point of, you know, at one point, we have to start looking long-term, not just for this cost, but all the other costs that are coming forward, there's new schools, et cetera. Inflation seems to be nipping at everybody in the room, but certainly for the seniors and our retired staff and their spouses, because I think it was very important to mention that. I would just say for the general public that most of the retirees do not collect Social Security. So while they get 8.7% in Social Security, city employees, most of them, unless they don't have enough quarters, don't qualify for Social Security, and they're just living on their own pension. So there's a big distinction there, but I think we are in line with the benefit. Certainly do not want to put the city into jeopardy, but in the same token, as I think this small token of appreciation both to our present and past retirees is very important, given the cost of living just dramatically outpaces everything else we've ever approved. So again, I just want to say great work to finance team and Mr. Rannigan. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilor Spatafor. Councilor O'Malley.
Yes, I am on the Finance Committee, and I do appreciate having the time to kind of really think about it. It is, as Councilor McDonald indicated, our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Rannigan, who's also our Controller, has consistently pretty much kind of been warning the long-term finance alarm bell, not just for this particular bucket of money, but really kind of all the buckets of money. And I know that we have a long-term financial impact committee. I do think it's important that we actually start looking at this stuff, because I don't see any long-term financial planning happening. Councilor McDonald mentioned the VOC, and I was in support of the VOC project, but that is turning very quickly into quite a boondoggle. They're going to be blowing up a hilltop for no apparent reason at like upwards of $40 million. Most of that does not get reimbursed via the state. It's coming out of our pockets. This is something I never want, and the only reason I'm talking about it is because we're talking about long-term financial planning here. I think we were all kind of afraid to be like, oh, like we can't say no to the vote. Like, what's that going to be? Like, we can't do that. But I'll be honest with you. I do think it was a mistake. I do think that there is a more common sense place to build. And that is one of the reasons why I am fully in support of approving this, because if we aren't going to keep our finances in check in every other location, then who am I to say that the retirees shouldn't get more money? So I'm fully in support of this, but alarm bells are ringing when our Chief Financial Officer is saying, hey, y'all, we really need to put the brakes, but we can't just be putting the brakes on the retirees. Thank you.
Thank you all. And just from the chair, the 8.77 is really a key figure. It's something that actually I brought up in the finance meeting. Is someone who does collect Social Security, unlike
I wouldn't say that.
Unlike many of our retirees. And I think the key point here is that 8.77 was on the actual base that someone receives in Social Security. So if you received $10, you got, another 87 cents. If you receive $10 as a retiree in the city of Malden, okay, it gets brought down to 18% of that $10, and then this figure is applied to that. So it's not even 5% of their full base, it's 5% of the $18,000 COLA base. So not that that changes the figure that impacts our long-term liability, but we do need to take care, we have a responsibility to take care of our retirees, and I think that this is definitely the right move. So I'm fully in support of this. And I too, at the voting booth, voted in favor of the VOC. And Councilor O'Malley, just wanted to clarify for the general public that this council never voted on the VOC project. It was done in the voting booth by all of our constituents. And it was, it was an election that wasn't done in, like at a normal election time where you got a huge draw of people, which, some could argue about that. But the fact of the matter is, it was actually an election that had ballots, and it was voted on by our constituents and the constituents in other cities. So Do we need to look at the long-term finances of our city? Absolutely. ARPA money is going away. That's going to be a shock to many people over the next year or two, and we're going to have to fill some holes and some gaps. So that's certainly a discussion that needs to, come into play and start now. So I totally agree with Councilor McDonald and yourself, Councilor O'Malley, on that topic. We need to get that committee up and running and focused. So, thank you. So where were we? So, motion to, motion to, yes. If you please call the roll.
Roll call on 137.
137.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Councilor Condon. Councilor Crowe. Councilor Linehan. Councilor McDonald. Councilor O'Malley. Councilor Seega. Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Spatafora. Councilor Winslow. Council President Murphy.
Yes, the order has been adopted. Next order of business, please.
Paper 138-23, order that the sum of $2 million is appropriated from available Water Sewer Enterprise Fund retained earnings to be used for continued lead line replacement throughout the city.
On Councilor McDonald's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Councilor McDonald for the paper, for the order. Oh, Councilor McDonald, hold on, I just lost the screen. Wait a minute. Okay, there you go. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think this is pretty self-explanatory, just to say that our lead service line removal program has a couple of different funding sources, and Councilor Winslow did a good job of explaining how this is kind of keeping us at a current pace while we're waiting for some of the other federal grant opportunities to come online. And so, Councilor Winslow, I don't know if there's anything more you want to say about the technical aspects of what this accomplishes as part of our work strategy.
Yeah, I mean, what we're trying to do is go from sort of a 20-year plan to address our lead pipes, to do it in 10 years. And there is federal money in the infrastructure bill to do that. And Congresswoman Clark has also secured money, so this money helps complement that. We use some ARPA money the past few years, and we're going to continue to do that when we can do it next year. But this will keep the aggressive program going forward. We've hired staff to help us work with homeowners so that we can, when we replace a lead line, we replace the city side as well as the private side. So we're really gearing up, doing more. And so that's really, this will ensure that we're going on the aggressive schedule. And I think the other thing, if you weren't in finance, the federal infrastructure bill, I was thinking that we could just go in and apply for $20 million and get it all done at once, but putting out a little bit at a time. So we might be able to get like $3 million grants a year instead of a big chunks, and those will be like $3 million over 3 years. So it's this will just make sure we have enough money to keep an aggressive program going forward, and the goal will really be to have all our lead pipes replaced in 10 years. And I don't know if people saw that we city received another award related to the strategy of prioritizing the lead lines on streets with the most kids. So it's recognized and it's working, and so this just makes sure we keep that momentum going forward, and it'll it'll allow us to keep moving forward aggressively on these things.
Councilor Condon.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a great program. It keeps us ahead of it. For years, we neglected the city as far as replacing those lead lines, and we fell further and further behind. But I'd like to mention Maria Louise. She's done a tremendous job keeping up on it, and Bob Knox and the entire water crew. So happy to keep this program going. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Condon. Councilor Simonelli.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say from experience, by you, Madam President, appointing me as chairman as the DPW Roads and Sidewalks team, I actually get a good opportunity to sit in on the meetings in the mayor's office on Monday mornings at 9 o'clock, and they go on for a couple hours. And I got to say, very well-run program. They brought Wayne Martineau on board to kind of go out and assess the streets before they even do any work of the roads that they're going to be working on. He sends out a letter to the folks saying that they do have these two federal programs to get rid of lead, and where he has the experience of working for strategic planning. He's been doing it for a long time. So what we find is that, you know, there's a cost savings there too, because if you can go in there and get the permission from the homeowner prior to them opening up the street and closing it, and then going back, which we know we've done that sometimes. This way here, they go out and they're all proactive, and they talk to the homeowner into actually being part of these programs, and then they do it when the street's lifted and opened up, and then it just goes back real easy. And I got to take my hat off to the mayor's office and that team up there for the work that they do. And they've got all kinds of paperwork and charts and everything else on where we're going in the next 5 years. I was very impressed. So for somebody that's actually been going up there and actually seeing the work, it's pretty amazing on how they've been doing it, and they really get every council up here should be very happy, because they are working on a lot of streets in everybody's neighborhood. So, thank you.
Okay. On Councilor McDonald's motion to adopt, seconded by
Councilor Simonelli.
Councilor Simonelli.
Spatafora.
Councilor Spatafora. Clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor Linehan.
Yes.
Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seca.
Yes.
Councilor Simonelli.
Yes.
Councilor Spatafora.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes, the order has been adopted. Next order of business. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Crowe.
No.
For the next paper, 161 of 20, I'd like to request I recuse myself. I am a paid employee of one of the organizations that is listed.
On Councilor Crow's motion to recuse herself, seconded by Councilor O'Malley.
Do we have to do a roll call? Does he do a roll call?
Yeah, I think it is a roll call.
I think you do roll call.
We're doing roll call all night, so we might as well continue.
It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to vote no
We're
anyways.
killing a tree.
Yeah, I want to mix it up.
Clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Councilor Condon.
Yes.
Does Councilor Crowe vote on the recusal? No. Councilor Linehan.
Yes.
Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor Seca. Yes. Councilor Simonelli.
Yes.
Councilor Spatafora.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes, Councilor Crowe, you're recused. Okay. Next order of business, please.
Paper 160-23, order that the mayor be authorized to file an application for grants under the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 and the Cranston-Gonzalez Housing Act of 1990 for the CDBG budget.
Okay, on Councilor McDonald's motion, we need to read the paper though, right? No, that is the paper, okay. On Councilor McDonald's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye.
We already received the committee report. This is... No committee report? Well, we did, up here. Paper 182 is the committee report.
Oh, it's all of them, okay, I see, I'm sorry, okay. Councilor McDonald. Yeah.
Adopt them.
Councilor McDonald for the paper.
I don't even know what they're talking about.
Okay, yeah.
I never do.
Okay, yes. So on Councilor McDonald's motion
Something about CDBG.
to receive,
Coming out favorably. Coming out of committee.
to receive the committee report.
Was
We
it a
haven't-
committee?
He-
So it's coming out of committee.
He hasn't talked about paper.
Right. He needs to speak on behalf of the committee, but we already received the committee report right here.
Yeah.
Correct.
What did we vote that night?
I think we did. We referred it back, right? CDBG level?
We referred it back?
Yeah, so we're voting
Yeah.
on it.
Oh, we referred it back that night?
No, I mean, we reported it favorably, so we'd be, yeah.
Oh, okay. Right, I thought we already brought it out from committee.
All right, just for, I know, but just for clarification, because we had someone recuse themselves, we're just going to take another vote to make sure it's clean, that Councilor McDonald's motion to receive this committee report. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay. Committee report is received. Councilor McDonald, actually, you read it. Councilor McDonald for the committee. I'm trying to get it on. There we go.
I defer to Vice Chair Condon because I actually wasn't at this hearing, so the Finance Vice Chair will take us through this.
Okay, Councilor Condon, you are live.
Yes, what are you on, a suicide mission tonight? We discussed the CDBG budget, went through it step at a time, starting with programs, then public service. We took each section, which you have to do by law, so much percentage. We got the physical improvements, 400,000 to Willow Street and Eastern Ave. That's your part. Yes. Thank you. So we broke it all down, you know, and it's basically what it is every year. They break it right down on the, like the 20% entitlement, that's the administration fees. It's 20% every year. The 108 loan, that's every year. Some of them mature in 10 years, some mature in about 20 years. So this budget was looked at and passed 4-0. And I recommend that we adopt it. Second.
Okay, we have some lights here. Councilor O'Malley.
I was just going to make the motion to adopt, adopt the order. I'm ready to vote.
Okay, I'm seeing no other lights. On Councilor Condon's motion to adopt, although seconded by Councilor O'Malley. Clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Councilor Condon.
Yes.
Councilor Linehan. Yes. Councilor McDonald. Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Simonelli.
Yes.
Councilor Spatafora. Yes. Councilor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. Okay, next order of business, please. Oh, the motion, you said the motion is adopted. Okay. Yes, all part of it, right.
Okay, paper.
Okay, just to follow what we did the last one on Councilor Donald's motion to receive the committee report, we're talking about paper 161. No, we're leaving her out there. No, she's staying out there. That's why we're receiving the committee report again. On Councilor McDonald's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay. Councilor McDonald, please read the paper. Clerk.
Paper 161-23, order that the City of Malden file with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development a consolidated plan, including applications for grants under the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended, and the Cranston-Gonzalez Housing Act of 1990 as amended, to be administered by the Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development for fiscal year 2024, including all understanding and assurances contained therein on or substantially in the form presented to this meeting, and that Gary Christensen, Mayor and Chief Executive Officer of the City of Malden, be and hereby is directed and designated as authorized representative for and in the name and behalf of the City of Malden to sign and file said plan, to act in connection with said plan, and to provide such additional information as may be required.
On Councilor Condon's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Councilor Condon for the committee. I don't know if you want to make a motion to adopt?
Yes.
Second?
On Councilor Condon's motion to adopt, seconded by, who is the second? Councilor Simonelli. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Paper, I'm sorry, call the roll. Sorry.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Counselor Condon.
Yes.
Counselor Linehan.
Yes.
Counselor McDonald. Yes. Counselor O'Malley. Yes. Counselor Seega. Yep. Counselor Simonelli.
Yes.
Counselor Spatafora. Counselor Winslow.
Yes.
Counsel President Murphy.
Yes. Okay. It has been adopted. Counselor Crowe, we do need Counselor Crowe now, if someone would be kind enough to get her. Counselor Seeker,
Yeah, yeah. Case of any. Oh, my fucking neck. I went back to the gym. It's my second week. Yeah, but it's all right. It's a good hurt. It's a good hurt. I build up like those back muscles and pull my shoulders back. When I walk, like all of a sudden I always do it. I always slouch forward. So I'm trying to build these back muscles so I can stand up straight. Slouching right now. I'm like 3 inches taller. I could get on the big kids rides at Disney if I stand up straight. Bathroom real quick.
next order of business.
Paper 183-23, Committee Report. The Standing Committee on License, to whom was referred papers 99, 100, 124 through 134, 153 through 156, and 158 of Series 2023, having considered the same, make the following report, that the petitions be recommended out favorably to the full City Council.
Okay. On Councilor Simonelli's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The committee report has been received. Would you please read
Yes.
the like petitions?
Paper 99-23, petition, livery, David G. Ulysses, 230 Bryant Street, number 3, Malden, 1 vehicle. Paper 100-23, petition, lodging house, Top Tier Properties LLC, DBA Sir Carlton, 33 Maple Street, renewal. Paper 124-23, petition, livery, Kasoon Demita, 411 Salem Street, 1 vehicle, renewal. Paper 125-23, petition, outdoor parking, AGM Auto Sales, 135 Eastern Ave, 24 spaces, renewal. Paper 126-23, petition, outdoor parking, Andreas Cetos, 25-37 Florence Street, Malden, 34 spaces, renewal. Paper 127-23, petition, outdoor parking, Andreas Cetos, 29 Madison Street, 40 spaces, renewal. Paper 128-23, petition, pawnbroker, Art Carl Jewelers and AC Loan, 56 Pleasant Street, renewal. Paper 129-23, petition, pawnbroker, Golden Diamonds, etc., Incorporated, 27-29 Pleasant Street, renewal. Paper 130-23, petition, secondhand dealer, Art Carl License and AC Loan, 56 Pleasant Street, renewal. Paper 130-23, petition, secondhand dealer, Golden Diamonds, etc., Incorporated, 27-29 Pleasant Street, renewal. Paper 132-23, petition, self-service gas station, Snap Mart Incorporated, 245 Main Street, renewal. Paper 133-23, petition, self-service gas station, Speedway, number 2504, 214 Broadway, renewal. Paper 134, petition, self-service gas station, Wash Depot 1, Inc., 333 Eastern Avenue, renewal. Paper 156, petition, outdoor parking, Robert McNulty, 28 Cedar Street, Malden, 14 spaces, renewal. Paper 148-23, petition, secondhand dealer, GameStop, 6263 at 44 Broadway, Suite A, 110, renewal.
Council Seeker. Council Seeker. For the petitions. I put you on a little while ago. You're off again. There you go.
Thank you. Motion to grant. These are all renewals. There were no issues. We had compliance in last week, so motion to grant all these.
Councilor Seeker's motion to grant the petition, seconded by Councilor O'Malley. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The petitions are granted. Councilor Seeker.
I would like to make a motion to recuse myself for the following, the final 3 licenses to be granted. Regano's is my uncle, and I usually don't vote on anything.
Okay, on Councilor Seeker's motion to recuse herself, seconded by Councilor Simonelli, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilor O'Malley.
Oh, my God. I just-
Counselor Cologne Hayes.
Because everybody, it was Counselor
Counselor
O'Malley.
Condon.
I knew it was you.
Not here. Counselor Crowe. Counselor Linehan. Counselor McDonald. Counselor O'Malley. Counselor Simonelli. Counselor Spatafora. Counselor Winslow. Counsel President Murphy.
Yes. Counselor Seeger, you are recused. Okay, Counselor O'Malley for the, oh, actually, clerk, if you would please read the papers.
Paper 153-23, petition outdoor parking, Regano's Incorporated, 1081 Fells Way, Malden, 20 spaces renewal. Paper 154-23, petition outdoor parking, Regano's Incorporated, 1152 Eastern Avenue, Malden, 10 spaces renewal. Paper 155-23, petition outdoor parking, Regano's Incorporated, 1176 Eastern Avenue, Malden, 15 spaces renewal.
Counselor O'Malley for the petitions.
I move to grant the petitions.
On Counselor O'Malley's motion to grant the petitions, seconded by Counselor Cologne Hayes. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The petitions have been granted. And Counselor Seeker may return to the chamber. And next order of business.
That's the docket.
The docket is clear. So we got personal privilege. Oh, those lights come on for personal privilege really quick. Okay, Counselor Winslow.
Oh, I won the Jeopardy prize here, huh? Okay, so just reminding folks that on Monday, May 1st, the Future of Maplewood Square Committee is hosting our third community forum on the future vision for Maplewood Square, and our Metro Bridge Boston University students are preparing boards with some various ideas they have, and the community will come in sort of an open house format and be able to discuss with the students what they think, and then we'll have some sort of input as to what that is. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's 7 o'clock on May 1st at the Salem Wood School. And just a few other things on the Saturday before that, on April 29th. I'll be down on the bike trail at the Live Like Becca Memorial about at 10 a.m. planting some flowers with the Live Like Becca Foundation folks. And then later that day at 2 o'clock at High Rock, we'll be doing some cleanup with folks from Ward 6 of High Rock. So so you can get up to Rockingham and help clean us up there. Thank you. Great.
Just put it up here, thank you. Yeah, no, I got a nice cover on it these days. Okay, thank you, Counselor Winslow. Counselor O'Malley.
Thank you. Thank you for tonight. It was, I think, a very productive meeting. Obviously, we covered a lot of ground. I just wanted to mention we talked about and Councilor Murphy, you brought up a great point about the VOC vote. And it kind of had different hours. And I think the vote that we took, because I did look into this, I talked to the Secretary of State's office, we voted to allow those hours of voting. And so that was our involvement. And what the Secretary of State basically said, because I was like, hey, how is it fair that there was such a limited amount of time where you could vote? Because there's only like a 2% turnout, which is, we have like 20% and we're upset. So 2% is crazy, especially when you're talking about like real city finances. And they were like, well, your city and the cities and towns basically gave that power up when you allowed that election to happen in your city. And so in the future, if anyone's coming to us to allow an election that will then impact our budget, we probably should really make sure that we are sending them to that long-term finance committee and really vetting it and understanding what the project was. Because I was not aware that it was going to be in the Hilltop area, and so I do think that if this ends up being something where they're coming back for more money, I do think that we really should scrutinize that. I've been looking into like when do you even elect a school committee member for the VOC? I think it's every like 4 years. Is it? So are they up this year or is it going to be next?
I believe they're up this year.
Because they might actually be voted on the presidential ballots, actually, maybe even. So I don't know, it's a mystery, but we probably should figure out the VOC situation, only because, communities like Malden and Chelsea are going to be paying the vast majority of this, and we're going to get caught with cost overruns. So I've been advocating that they move it to the fields to try to save $40 million, and rather than do value engineering and taking things out of the building just to knock down a hilltop, put it into the building, and ideally reduce the costs. But I won't sip on my soapbox too much longer. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Councilor O'Malley. Councilor Condon.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to announce that we are going to have a meeting at the Irish American in the lounge area, May 4th. It's a Wednesday night, 6 o'clock, so we can go over where we are with Dever Park and talk about what was discovered in the last couple months and how much time we really lost. But I'll wait till the 4th of May to discuss that. But we really didn't lose that much time. Should be finished up around October, near the end of October. Everything should be done down Dever, as long as we don't hit anything unexpected, which always seems to happen, unfortunately. But so if you live near the park, if you don't live near the park, if you want to find out what's going on, come to the Irish American at 6 o'clock on the 4th. It's a Wednesday night. Be about an hour and a half. So. And secondly, I'd like to announce that my partner, Peg Crow from Ward 1, and myself have discussed the 4th of July that we always partner up with, and talked to Joe Levine, and we decided we're going to run it down Callahan Park and run the track for the races. So we got some shade under the stands. Maybe we'll get another tent. But we've already determined that we have to do a walk around to make sure we can fit our stuff in there. And there's a new exercise piece out in center field beyond the fence. They say it's tremendous, sponsored by Blue Cross Blue Shield. So that's it. Thank you.
Councilor Crowe, I have a question. Did you have your light on?
I pressed my button and you turned the light on.
Okay, I just want, there you go. Oh, there you go. There you go.
Now she really wants it.
Yeah,
Oh,
no.
now it's
I
me.
just, I wasn't sure whether I would.
No, thank you, Madam President. So again, there's lots and lots of events going on, and on May 6th, Saturday, May 6th, that's in a week from this coming Saturday, Councilor Winslow and I, with a whole host of other people, are having our annual Malden Bicycle Fair at the Ferryway School. It is from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. There is a QR code. We just ask people register, just so we can kind of manage the crowds, but it's our sponsors, besides Council Winslow and myself, is Bike to the Sea, the YWCA, Malden Kiwanis, Safe Routes to School, Cambridge Health Alliance, Mass Bike, Shapiro and Henda, Cycle Life, Physical Therapy, and New England Security. So we have a whole day of events, giving out helmets, doing a bike raffle, doing a skills course with a Mass Bike, some ABC, air brakes and chains, some check out your bicycle, some helmet decorating, police, fire, and Cataldo ambulance will be there. And so it's just a fun day, and so I hope everybody comes down to Ferryway School, Saturday, May 6th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Crowe. Councilor McDonald.
I wanted to say thank you to everybody who participated in the Green Malden Fair. We had a tremendous turnout, saw a lot of you there, lots of community organizations. Have a feeling it'll come back in future years. And special thanks to Ron Cochran and the mayor's office who kind of convened the planning team for that. Also wanted to say, yesterday I hosted a public meeting with a team of graduate students from Northeastern University who had done a research project in Malden looking at affordable housing zoning and giving us some recommendations to consider. So it was a great conversation. We'll post I made sure you all got an invitation, but we'll post the recording and the materials. And I hope that it's, kicks off some more active conversation about ways we can make it easier to build housing that people can afford in Malden as we're looking at the sustainability of our city going forward. I just want to say on the subject of the VOC, we did in fact authorize hours, but we didn't have a lot of choices because the date was picked for us and we were in the middle of we had just adopted the new precincts, but we hadn't secured all the locations and everything. We didn't have the machines, so we actually couldn't have even run it across the city. So we were forced to do it in a single location with limited hours. And that I personally called the project manager and spent a fair amount of time trying to understand the finances of this project, and it did not include mountaintop removal at the time. The limit that we authorized is firm, and they would have to come back to us for additional money. So it may be something that we want to take a look at, trying to send a signal about how we would react to a request to fund additional money beyond the $317 million that the project already has approved. And I know that I spoke with our state delegation too, that Senator Lewis and others are looking for opportunities in the future to put more money through the Mass School Building Authority to cover the cost of these projects. And, but it's true that a lot of the burden falls on the communities that need the VOC most because we have the students who have the greatest need and thus often the least ability to pay. So it's not a fair system, but it's all defined in, kind of state law and our charters. So I think it does behoove us to take a deeper dive into this and see if we can help shape any potential future liabilities. So that's my comment on the vote.
Thank you, Councilor McDonald. Councilor Linehan.
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to also thank the volunteers who came out to not just my park cleanup this past weekend, but so many of the park cleanups. It was Earth Day and there was a lot going on around the city. It was a very cold, raw, drizzly day, tough day to be out there, but we had a huge volunteer turnout at all of the various cleanups, so kudos to the community for that. I also wanted to, on the subject of parks, just give a quick reminder at the request of our animal control officer. So as it's warming up out there, we're having a little bit of issues with off-leash dogs in some of the parks. We want everybody to coexist. Love to see dogs in the parks as long as they're on a leash, just for safety of everyone. And then also wanted to share, we are having a bit of an uptick in off-leash dogs getting out of their owner's control in the fells. And I think it's something that not a lot of folks are aware of, just how many animals actually do go missing in the fells every week. It's a horrible statistic if you, talk to folks who work in advocacy in this space, but please keep your dogs for their own safety on their leashes in the fells. It's so close to the highway. It's a gigantic reservation. You wouldn't think that it'd be as hard as it is to track down animals when they go missing, but they do, and we don't want to see that happen. And then on a more happy note, I wanted to also let folks know that we had a great meeting last night of the group that's looking to paint crosswalks around the city in rainbow colors for Pride Month. We had a nice turnout both on Zoom and in person. We had a volunteer meeting last night, and just wanted to let any folks know that couldn't make it, if you want to get involved. It's an effort to paint, at this point, 3 crosswalks, one in Maplewood, one outside the high school, and one outside City Hall, in the colors of the rainbow flag in time for Pride Month, which starts June 1st. We're hoping to get that painting sometime over Memorial Day weekend. I want to thank the mayor's office, our DPW, our police, who have all been great collaborators on this effort. We're still looking for volunteers. We'd most likely be doing that painting Memorial Day weekend, either the Saturday or Sunday. We're trying to figure out the right time so that stuff can dry and not disrupt the parade, but still be there ready to kick off Pride Month starting June 1. So reach out to me if you'd like more information. We're very much still recruiting volunteers for that. And really look forward to having that paint on the ground for everyone in the city to enjoy through the month of June and onward, as long as it lasts. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Linehan. Councilor Cornyn for the second time.
Yes. I always admit when I'm wrong. I had the right date, wrong night. So the Dever Park meeting is May 4th, Thursday night, 6 o'clock. Everybody's welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cornyn. Councilor Spatafora.
I just want to echo some of the other councilors who said, who participated in Earth Day last week, myself and Council Sika. We did a cleanup with some students. We also had the collection for clothing drive, which every year kind of surprises me how many people actually come out and clean out their houses and their basements and the amount of clothing they give away, which is great because one is you can no longer throw clothing in the trash. There's a textile law that was passed, I believe it was last year, but just went into effect. Footnote for next year, though, they take not only clothes, but they take shoes and handbags. Mary Louise always drops off some good handbags. But they also take toys and luggage, which when I saw the luggage, I have luggage that my parents bought, I think, in 1978 that I am finally going to get rid of. So just as an FYI, but I know there's a lot of things going on in the city. The mayor came by, and I know almost every ward had something going on, but it's just great to see that happening. And I was actually showing a couple councils over here. I actually caught the day before Earth Day out my window in Malden, a bald eagle sitting on a telephone pole. If you don't believe me, I have the video, eating a squirrel. So it's pretty impressive to see a bald eagle in the city of Malden. I mean, I'm amazed. I'm amazed. So great work on Earth Day. I look forward to participating next year. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor Spatafor. Councilor Cologne-Hayes.
Thank you. I feel like we've been promoting this event over and over, but it's really important. I'm going to give another shout out to Juneteenth bingo fundraiser. So it's music bingo. It's going to be really fun. It's at the Irish American on this Thursday. The doors open at 6, I believe, and you can still buy tickets, and those tickets are also all for donations so that we can keep the Juneteenth event free. And so if you can't attend, you can still go to Eventbrite at Music Bingo Juneteenth Fundraiser and just buy a ticket if you can't show up, and that would be like a donation. So we can do that. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, I was also around all of the cleanups, and I packed a bunch of bags in my car to go over to the Linden with all my stuff, and didn't get over there, but what I did do is go drop it off at one of the bins at the schools, because all that gets donated to the schools. So I always give a shout out to that. If you have to donate, go to each one of our public schools has a bin out there. And I know this is early, but we are, Fuji is, Friends of Oak Grove Inc. is having the fishing derby July 16th at Fellsmere Pond. We're really excited to do this. It's to benefit Fuji. I know that there's first one in May over at the Pine Banks, and so I'm actually going to show up to see how you guys do it, maybe steal some ideas. But everybody's excited. I see a lot of people have been actually fishing out there, been walking around, and there's people out there even today fishing. Lots of fish are in there, and we're really excited. So mark your calendars, June 16th, and Councilor Linehan's going to be helping, and I believe we reached out to O'Malley. So anybody's willing to jump in here, offers to everybody, so. July 16th. What did I say? Sorry, July 16th, thank you, yes. No, we are not having a fishing, thank you, July 16th. And anyone who knows Marilyn Andrews, her son Jeremy, is helping out with this, who is just thrilled. He's a big fisherman, and so he's very excited, so thank you.
Okay. Seeing no lights, I guess I get to close this up. So just speaking of events coming up this Saturday, the 29th at Forestdale Cemetery, we are celebrating Arbor Day. And we are celebrating with the planting of a number of trees in the cemetery, as well as we put it on and probably didn't do it right. We said a scavenger hunt. It's really not a scavenger hunt in the cemetery. It's actually a tree walk where children will receive a passport, and the passport in it has a picture of a tree and the name of the tree, and they'll be able to walk along the road, not through gravestones, along the road to find the tree. And when they get there, they'll get a sticker, and then at the end, if they find all 10 trees, they will be entered into a raffle. We'll also have some arts and crafts to keep the younger kids amused while the actual tree planting with the older children and the adults is happening. So that is this Saturday at the Forestdale Cemetery from 11 to 1. We hope to have everyone there to see some great trees that the cemetery has received. So it's going to be a fun day for everyone. And I met with the mayor this morning and his team, and I'm just happy to announce that there is discussion going on about extending yard waste into some of the summer months. So it has not been officially, put out, and we don't have the exact dates or the weeks that it's going to happen. It is an expensive proposition. I believe our new Republic, is that what the, $17,000 a week? What? That's why. No. No, not the extra weeks, and that's what they're charging. So, when people. Huh? What they did is they looked at tonnage and where the most tonnage was, and it was spring and fall. So the summer months don't get the amount of tonnage that the spring and fall, spring cleanup, fall leaves. So, yeah, we're gonna try to come to some way to have some type of, a pickup in the summer, but it is expensive. I mean, you add 4 weeks, you're talking $80,000 out of the budget, a little less than 80,000, so anyway, so just something for everyone to consider, because I know we're all getting calls about that, it's on Facebook, et cetera, but there is some activity, and the mayor wanted me to let you all know that, that is a discussion that is ongoing. So he has heard the constituents. So, the other thing, that just while you're all here, any committee chairs that are planning to have committee meetings next Tuesday, as you noticed, our clerk of committees is out at the moment. So could you please, Carbon, not only Lisa and myself, but could you please email Morgan and our city clerk, Ms. Desiderio, with any of your committee needs for next Tuesday, okay, so that we can get the schedule going, all right? So that'll be very, very important, okay? All right, with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
What's
Oh. Oh, I'm sorry, your light wasn't on when I looked, sorry.
I thought you were saving the best for last.
No.
No. Thank you. All right. I'll be short and sweet. Listen, I just want to just put a shout out to my cousin Judy Hyde and her family. She has lost her son the other night. They're cousins of mine, and I don't know if you remember from years ago. Her sister Sue lost her son Corey some years back as well. So they've had some tragic times in their family, and a lot of them work for Malden Transportation, which I know you all know where that is, or most of you do anyway. But he was like 30 years old, Brendan, and I just want to just get a shout out to his mother and the entire family. They're like, they're like fabrics of Malden. They've been living in Malden for like 100 years, and they're a good family. They work really hard, and everybody knows the Hydes. I would assume, especially in my neighborhood. So, I just want to. Sure. Yeah. Sure. Thank you. And thank you, Madam President. I do have a multitude of projects that are going on in my ward, but you know what? I'll just Facebook everybody. I think I'm just going to end it there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Thanks, council meeting is.
You know I love you, Chris. I know, buddy. I can be brief when I want to be. But since you guys pull me up there